Okay guys, this is the SoCal Master Kush after one single press, so we're gonna weigh it up, see what it comes to. We did press 15 grams of flour, so a 20% return on 15 grams would be around 3 grams. I have to outro the video, so I figured, yeah, we'll take a couple dabs. Bro, this torch is blasting so hard, you could send an astronaut to the moon with this thing. Woo, that smells good. So the strawberry cock did not really impress me with the yield, but this stuff is so fucking good. Going in on the strawberry cock. Perfect time. first dab of the day. Always the hardest. Always. I just want to go over some of the obvious. The number one thing I want to talk about is the SoCal Master Kush. That was my best strain I have currently for producing rosin. It's giving me the best return for what's going in. 15 gram presses, and I was getting 2.7 grams.
Alright,
like
solo matches, baby.
Of return, which I know it doesn't sound great, but usually if you were to go press that patty twice, you'd get another 1.5 grams, and you'd be sitting up in the 22-23% range. So it is producing some good flow, some good squirts. Just want to point that out. So since that was a strain that produced so well, I did go ahead and press the SoCal Master Kush a few more times to stock up. So, ended up with 13 grams of SoCal Master Kush, and yeah, pretty pumped. As for the strawberry cock, it did not do that very well, not even worth noting, and same with the purple punch, which is 100% expected with autos. They tend to not get very big unless you have a very unique, special pheno that's just crazy tricked out. SoCal Master Kush.
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon.
I'm so fucking high, everything's distracting me right now.
Playtime's over. Stand by for deployment to the war zone.
If you've watched my video more than once and you're still not subscribed, bro, come on, man. So, I'm gonna have more videos on rosin pressing, definitely more detailed videos than this, which really was
Damn, I picked the wrong load out.
Resurgence. Gas is approaching your position. Get to the safe zone. Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your redeployment. Earn points to secure it faster. Hunt the enemies before they hunt you.
So, last week I chopped down the blue dream, and this week I I'm harvesting, drying, trimming, and weighing up the purple punch autoflower.
Enemy UAV active. Enemy UAV active.
So, I guess I left all of you with a cliffhanger last week's Sea. If you missed that episode, I drew the Blue Dream and Purple Punch from Sea.
Enemy UAV active.
So, if you want to check out the full run, the link to that video will be down below in the description. As normal.
Enemy UAV active. Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Now the Blue Dream is Coldwar, which is why I was able to give the weight
Thank you, baby.
last week, which was only 62 grams. And some of you pointed out it was
Man, I got
considerably
orders,
less
babe.
than the previous.
Enemy UAV active. Make it mean something. Only 25 left. Keep moving forward. You aren't done yet. Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
What you doing, petty kitty? Nani?
Alright, alright, alright. For real this time. No distractions.
I'm placing 3 cups of worm castings into a cheese cloth. This worm poo will provide a large number of nutrients the plants need to thrive. Nutrients such as magnesium, calcium, potassium, and phosphorus are practically bursting out of this manure, and the microbial activity in worm castings is 10 to 20 times higher than any soil. It's now a staple amendment I add to both my cocoa and living soil mediums. I'm also adding in 5 tablespoons of kelp, which is going to provide potassium and other beneficial minerals. And the last ingredient I'm adding into this compost tea is 5 tablespoons.
Practice while you can. You'll be entering the field in a bit.
Going to replenish the microbial life of the medium and provide the flowering miles. It's now day 48, and the purple punch has been growing exponentially every week. I'm going to tie down the plants again, but this time from the bottom tray.
Enough trading. Now you fight a real enemy.
Attached it to the top of the pot.
Resurgence. The gas is closing on your position. Suggest you start running.
There's our LZ! Jump it!
Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your redeployment. Earn points to secure it faster. Enemy soldiers nearby. Hunt the enemies before they hunt you.
A lot more work in the canopy maintenance department. Today, I'm defoliating and blocking lower sites. Doing work I was proved to be beneficial and helping formulate bigger black photos that go on for days.
Enemy UAV active.
Brew another tea for the 2 autos, and I used the exact same ingredients, but this time I wanted to increase the BPM, so I used more of everything. Tablespoons of molasses this time, with 5 cups of worm castings, 8 tablespoons of guano, and 8 tablespoons of kelp, and I brewed it again for 24 hours and checked the ppms before using it, and it went up to 800. Adjustments and try to aim for something closer to like 1200 ppm. Using the Blue Labs Trench Yarn Nutrient Meter. ppm. It's 24.
tail.
It's now day 65, and I'm using my Blue Labs pH soil tester, and I'm going to check the medium's pH. As long as the soil tester shows a pH between 6 and 7.0, the plant will have zero issues uptaking nutrients in a soil medium. And both plants were reading 6.5. Blue green is further ahead into the flowering cycle, about week 7 now. The purple punch is about 3 weeks behind the blue dream, and the white clover cover crop still hasn't bloomed, but it has
Loadout drop headed your way.
retention on the topsoil.
Damn, I got a piss. Am I safe right here?
It's now day 73.
We shall see.
Loadout drop headed your way.
Another compost feed. Once again, using the ingredients.
Fucking.
You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated. Gas truck is inbound. Intercept and seize the cargo.
Alright, I'm cool.
The Spider Farmer SF2000 is currently about 18 inches away from the purple punch, and to make sure
Enemy UAV
the
active.
same intensity from this light,
Enemy UAV active.
on some wooden stands.
Enemy advanced UAV overhead. Be mindful.
Motherfucker, I'll be back. I'll be
Only
back.
25 remain. You've got a second chance. Make it count.
It's slowly fading off as the plant uses up any nutrients which is left stored in the plant.
Good shit.
Less than 25
Some of
remain.
bitch.
Latest on.
I'm gonna chop it down and hang it to dry. And, well, then weigh it
Shouldn't
up.
have told him I'll be
As
back.
for Purple Punch, it needs a couple
Gotta make a
more
load
weeks to
out.
finish. So, next upload I will be showcasing the results of the Purple Punch, which should be impressive.
Bullfrog and a kilo.
As for the Blue Dream, it's time to weigh it up. The final weight is 62 grams, which is just over 2 ounces. The buds on the Blue Dream turned out to be one of the better trichome producing autos I've had in a while. This pheno is packed with the sweet hazy and heavy fruity smell resembling blueberries. This run used 200 watts to grow these auto flowers, and since the Purple Punch is towering over the Blue Dream at, close to 3 times the size, I'm hopeful I can break 1 gram per watt. So tune in next week where I'll be harvesting the Purple Punch and finalizing this run under the Spider Farmer SF2000. All the grow equipment in this video will be linked down below with coupon codes, so if you are interested in anything like this badass budget light, feel free to check it out on Amazon and cop it with that discount code. I hope you enjoyed today's episode enough to leave a like and a comment. questions and comments, they never go unnoticed. And in case you didn't know already, they make a huge difference in the channel. And if you've watched a few of my videos now and you still haven't subscribed, just a big heads up, it's completely free. You know? Today, on Mr. Canucks Bro, I'm back in my tiny closet, growing autoflowers from seed to harvest. Now, despite this being a small closet, I still have a full ventilation system installed. The inline fan and carbon filter are at the very top of the closet, and to make sure I have good airflow for the plants and to keep the LED cool, I have a fan at the top and a fan on the very bottom of this closet. For lighting, I'm using ES180B2. This is a Y-band LED from Peppermint Sunshine Company, and the input power of this dude is 180 watts, which I know, doesn't seem like a lot, but the results do speak for themselves. This LED has an efficacy of 2.3 micromoles, so despite not using a whole heck of a lot of watts, I'm managing to grow some King Kong buds on harvest time. For this run, I'm going to be using pure cocoa, and for my nutrients, I'm using Gaia Green. And since I am planting autos, and more than likely those autos are going to automatically flower before I even get to the second feed, I'm just going to go ahead and use a 50-50 mixture of both the 444 all-purpose and the 2A4 bloom. I'm mixing in 4 tablespoons per 1 gallon of medium, and I'm also adding in a small amount of perlite. I'm filling up 5-gallon fabric pots and heading back upstairs to start this closet grow. I'm planting 3 autoflowers.
Alright, that's what we're gonna roll with. Try that out.
1 Bubba Kush from Humboldt Seed Organization, and 1 Skittles seeds into the medium, and I'm only planting the seeds about a fingernails deep. Any further and I would risk complications or cause the process to take longer than needed. I'm only using a small shot glass of un-pH'd chlorinated water, and to help increase the humidity, I'm covering them with some very yummy domes I found at the Dollarama.
Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today we're going to be talking about 20...
Enemy soldier nearby. Practice while you can. You'll be entering the field in a bit.
So this is going to be a list of 20 movies where I spent about a minute telling you why you should watch it. All movies that are lesser known movies with good description. This video is sponsored by Squarespace and Logo Media. I'll tell you how I created narrative.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Well, a really known movie that stars Jason Bateman, Mila Kunis, and is actually directed by him. It's an Jason Butthead, King of the Hill, Office Space, and Idiocracy. So he's a least known movie. Now, I would put this movie nowhere near masterpiece.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
But if you generally like his brand of humor, then Extract does have a lot of laughs in it. It's just a real knee slapper of a comedy from him. Now, my number 19 pick came out when Twilight.
Good shit.
This is a movie that tried to capitalize on that. Based on
Enough training. Now you fight a real enemy.
Now, considering all of that, I am number 4. So you
Eyes on scavenger contract.
Resurgence. Be advised, gas is closing in. Proceed to the safe zone. Hold out until the countdown is complete to redeploy for free. Any point-worthy action will shorten its duration. Enemy soldier nearby. Execute all targets in the AO. Enemy UAV active.
The movie kind of features this swinger culture thing with cannibalism mixed in, and it's really bonkers. I mean, all it does go for a lot of laughs, and a lot of them actually land pretty well. But
Good shit, good shit.
How absurd and silly the movie is, how terrible the acting is. If you really like famously bad movies,
good shit, good shit.
You've got a second chance. Make it count.
What's interesting about the losers is as famous as all those people are now, they were actually playing the second fiddle to Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Yeah, that Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this movie, he's actually the lead. So this is a smaller movie, but it's absolutely packed with really fun action. The only drawback is PG-13, so a lot of the action is. And Jason Patrick actually plays a pretty decent bad guy. I feel like this is maybe the last decent thing I ever saw him in, but still, fun. You don't expect anything with this movie. So if you generally like movies like that, the movie is not like solid gold. In fact, I don't even consider it. If you've never seen it, it is going to make for a great Friday or Saturday night watch.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Bottom 5 with an Eddie Murphy movie that I think is one of the funniest movies he did, and it was one of the most overlooked movies.
Enemy UAV active.
Now, this was on the tail end of sequels for good reason. All of that. It was a little bit tired when this movie...
Gas is right on your tail.
Totally understandable, but normally it's a very different movie than anything else done. It does have the same comedic sensibility, but this movie is ultimately about...
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
You don't see on film that often. Now, obviously, it's the other way around more often than not, but the depiction of it in this movie is actually quite good. Now, a little serious for a comedy movie. There's a lot of silly... It's got a good story and an interesting story. So it is fairly overlooked. If you've ever liked any of the sillier movies Eddie Murphy is known for, and you sort of passed on this one, like I know I did originally, I'm telling you, Norbit is much better than you probably thought it was. Okay, that was...
Good shit, good shit.
solid movies, and I know
You're back in the action.
Before that, I do want to tell you about DarrenVanDam.com and today's sponsor, Squarespace. Now, I research everything before I buy it. I did the same thing when I was creating a website. I compared Squarespace to all of the other competitors out there, and I chose
Got a loadout drop inbound.
before they decided to sponsor because it's not long to use the website, or at least that's long time. But not because it was difficult. Squarespace made this incredible.
Enemy UAV active.
Just take a look at this site. Look how good
You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated. 25 still remain in the AO.
Let me push and pull and tweak and get all sorts of design changes. Yet they also kept me on the rails. They kept me from doing weird things that are not going to make sense to the end user. And it was all very intuitive and fun to make. I had a blast making this website. So when this video
Enemy UAV active.
Be sure to sign up for my newsletter. I'm about to release my first issue. It's going to be filled with movie recommendations. Squarespace lets me manage all of that too. It's all under one roof, and it's just incredibly easy.
Enemy UAV active.
It's really robust. There's a lot of tools there. I highly recommend going to Squarespace.com and signing up for a free trial. It's absolutely free, but when you are ready to register a domain name or launch a website, go to my link. That's squarespace.com/flickconnection, and you're going to save 15% off your first order. Again, I did a ton of research before choosing Squarespace for my site, and they are the perfect fit for me. Hopefully they are for you too, but let's move on with the rest of this list and try to find some perfect movies for you.
Enemy UAV active.
Is included as part of HBO Max, along with a bunch of other stuff, but that means they've got some really good classic movies. Now, most of the classics are things you've heard of before, but one that is much lesser known that I highly recommend is The Wages of Fear. Now, no matter how many languages you speak, you're probably going to have to read some subtitles for this movie. It's spoken in a bunch of different languages. It's originally from France and is an amazing wartime movie. In this movie, some men are tasked with delivering a bunch of nitroglycerin down a bumpy road. Now, the reasons they have to do so are pretty dire, and they need to do so fairly quickly. Yet, if the nitroglycerin is bumped in any kind of way, it's going to explode, kill all
Gas is inbound.
and possibly cost the lives of a bunch of other people if they're not able to deliver this nitroglycerin. So those are the stakes. This is a brilliant movie. It's beautifully shot. I mean, The Wages of Fear is a masterclass in tension. If you consider yourself a movie buff and you've never seen this movie, it's one of the best hidden gems from this era. Definitely check it out. Now, I'm sure there are a ton of you watching who are fans of Jackie Chan, but I bet a lot of you have never seen a lot of his most famous movies, the ones from China that he was famous for.
Located a supply box. Secure that position.
Well, there are quite a few gems to pick from his older filmography. Police Story is currently included with HBO Max, and it's certainly one of the better ones and has some of the better stunts. Now, I will say Police Story is not shot as well as some of his later movies like Rumble in the Bronx, things like that, where they captured the stunts a little bit better. However, you need to remind yourself that Jackie Chan is actually doing
enemy UAV active.
There's no CG effects or anything other.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
And a bunch of other things in the movie, so I consider Police Story to be
gas is moving in. New safe zone highlighted.
Even if you were just sort of a later fan of some of his more American-made movies later in his career,
Fire sale is active. Buy station costs are adjusted.
This is heavy stunt work in these older Chinese flicks. All right, we're going to switch things up quite a bit with The Exorcism of Emily Rose. To me, this is one of the better but lesser-known exorcism movies. There is a ton of them. The Exorcist was such a hit movie that it has become its own subgenre, and it's filled with a lot of pretty crappy movies. The Exorcism of Emily Rose is easily one of the better ones. Not only does this one involve an exorcism, but there's also a murder investigation that's kind of at the core of the story. Deals with some flashbacks and things, and really
stay vigilant. Resurgence window is about to close.
A lot of the subgenre exorcism movies really try to do what The Exorcist does and fail. And Emily Rose is just a very different type of story. It's structured differently. The writer's
objective is to eliminate the bounty target.
Movie. He also directed Sinister, which I thought was a decent horror movie, but The Exorcism of Emily Rose might be one of the best movies, and it does have somewhat of a cult following, but I'm sure there are...
Bounty target is down. Low.
So many of these
You've got gas moving in.
So when I was in high school and college, the movie Swingers was one of my favorite movies. No, the movie's not about swingers, but it's a classic comedy starring Vince Vaughn. It's one of the earliest movies he ever did, and it's comedy gold. It is a cult classic for a reason. If you were a fan of that movie, I highly recommend checking out...
Fire sales done. Prices are back to normal.
Ran up a couple times at our hotel room we're going to go through. And it's really gangster style, you know what I mean? This also stars Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. Favreau actually directed this, and it's one of the earlier movies that he directed, but he has gone on to have a stellar career, having directed movies like Iron Man, Chef, the live-action Jungle Book, and...
Good shit, good shit.
So the guy has an incredible pedigree in terms of directing, and this is a small...
You're redeploying. Make it mean something. This is the end game. Resurgence has been turned off. Get to the new safe zone. Gas is closing in. It's down to the final 10. Come out on top. Less than 10, we're still standing.
Vince Vaughn's character in this movie is going to get underneath some people's skin. I had to put it further back on the list. Okay, so in 1992, there was a movie that came out that starred Emilio Estevez, Rene Russo, Anthony Hopkins, and Mick Jagger. And it also features time travel. In fact, let me just read you the synopsis from IMDb because it's way
let's
more
hit the
interesting
pipe.
than anything I could say. Bounty hunters from the future transport a doomed race car driver to New York
pipe
City
blood.
2009, where his mind will be replaced
Some intermission
with that of a
weed.
dead billionaire. So if that doesn't sell you on the movie, then I can tell you that Free Jack is probably not for you. But this is
Practice while you can. You'll be entering the field in a bit.
And then in there, you get kind of this favorite movie that is a little silly and
Enemy dropping into the AR. Enemy soldier nearby.
Now, I watch Jim Jarmusch movies on this channel pretty often. More recently, I talked about Only Lovers Left Alive. Now, I will say this is a slow-paced movie. It's all in black and white. It's mostly just conversations with people. Now, there is a story. Johnny Depp plays a character. And it is essentially a dead man walking for the rest. So that is the thing. These really wild characters come in and out of the movie. They're only really present for about one scene, but you get performances from people like Iggy Pop, Crispin Glover, John Hurt, Gabriel Byrne. Billy Bob Thornton shows up for a little bit, and a bunch of other faces you're going to recognize. I will say the score
Resurgence. Gas is closing on your position.
Bio all
Suggest you
day,
start
baby.
running. Hold out until the countdown is complete to redeploy for free. Any point-worthy action will shorten its duration. Targets are up. Take them out. Objective is to eliminate the bounty target.
This is not a horror movie. It's not super dark. Yet the way that it's directed and scripted has
enemy UAV active.
Sense about it. It's kind of creepy. I would consider this to be nowhere near as dark as the other two films. If you it has this bizarre sensibility about it. It is fairly soul-filled. The concept is fairly simple, but considering all of that, it's really well directed and you get a really incredible performance from Nicole Kidman, as always. So if you like Jonathan Glazer's other movies, I highly recommend checking out Coldwar. However, if you're not familiar with his other movies, I would recommend starting with something like Sexy Beast first and then working your way up to Birth, because it is one of the more strange projects he's done, even compared to Under the Skin. All right, I already mentioned Neil Young, might as well mention Alec Baldwin as well. Two names in the news for the last 6 months or so, but Alec Baldwin in The Cooler is one of the cooler roles I've seen him in the last 20 years or so. He's really focused on William H. Macy's character. Now, this is old school Las Vegas, or more specifically the transition from old Las Vegas to this new version of Las Vegas. And
Bounty target is down. Marvelous.
Which is a rare thing. He's considered to be a highly unlucky person, and he's paid to go around and sit and play tables at casinos that are hot, so he can cool them down. So you're starting off the story with kind of a miserable character in William H. Macy. William plays a cocktail waitress, and they start this interesting relationship, and then Alec Baldwin plays this really fun...
Bounty target is up. Take him down.
From like a Martin Scorsese era type of Las Vegas, and the movie itself, the story is kind of wedged in between. It's really well directed, incredibly well acted, and it's got a fantastic story. For such a lesser-known movie, easily one of the better...
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies. You're losing ground. Move it.
Ryan Gosling is dating a life-size sex doll.
You know, Bianca's a missionary.
Lars and the Real Girl is an incredibly touching movie about mental issues.
Bad guy, front.
Good shit.
Now, the movie itself is not nearly as creepy as the synopsis sounds. Ryan Gosling is...
You're redeploying. Make it mean something.
And it's a pretty touching movie. It's very funny at times, but it's not raunchy or dirty or anything like that. This is a very, very good, grounded movie. It's a very different character than you'll see him in. He's not really fun. He's not really super down. I love that. He's playing this really incredible...
Heads up!
...to him. Whether you're interested in...
Learn from the loss and come back stronger.
I think it's and my next pick, for some reason, has not become a cult classic, even though I think it definitely deserves to be. It's from director James Mangold, who did Ford vs. Ferrari, Logan, Walk the Line, and it stars Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Harvey Keitel, and Sylvester Stallone in Copland. Now, in this movie, Stallone plays a sheriff of a New Jersey suburb that is populated with New York City cops. So he's having to play sheriff in a town full of police, and there's a lot of seedy stuff going on in this movie. A lot of fantastic characters, including, I think, maybe the best role ever for Michael Rappaport. While it's not quite a mob movie, it is adjacent to one. It's very close to one and kind of takes place within the same world. If you've ever been a fan of gangster movies, crime movies, Copland is top shelf stuff that was very well reviewed when it came out. It just has not been remembered with time, I think, the way that it deserves to be. All right, my next pick is easily going to be more well-known cult movie on the Christmas of 1986 called Roger Howler, hunting people down on the highway.
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon.
Only his dreams were comforting until...
There's no...
Gotta complete the mission!
A maniac hunting down people on the highway,
Good to go.
Desert highway. Now, we've seen that in other movies. In fact, there's a remake of The Hitcher that's not nearly as good as this. But The Hitcher is probably still one of the best in this genre because it's so well directed. Not just the way it's shot, even though Rutger Hauer obviously steals...
Enemy soldier nearby.
This is really his movie, and he absolutely kills it. But the pacing of it, the story, everything works really well. It just keeps moving, and the tension is just absolutely absolutely fantastic. It's got a good nostalgic feel to it with that classic 80s soundtrack and everything. If you're vibing that, you want sort of a classic 80s feel that's creepy and got some action in it, then The Hitcher is definitely going to be for you. Okay, so easily the longest movie on this list, one of the longest movies on HBO Max right now, is also one of the best science fiction movies ever made.
Wow.
It comes from Russia, so you will have to read subtitles, which means it's also lesser known and a lot of you watch probably the first
That was real suspect.
Now, I think that this movie is a masterpiece. It is brilliantly done, yet it is very subtle and very, with a capital V, very slow-paced.
Playtime's over. Stand by for deployment to the war zone.
If you've never seen Stalker, then painfully slow, and the second half is going to be painfully confusing.
Resurgence.
Tagging DZ.
Be
Let's
advised,
go.
gas is closing in. Proceed to the safe zone. Hold out until the countdown is complete to redeploy for free. Any point-worthy action will shorten its duration. Enemy soldier nearby. Targets are up. Take them out.
Your imagination begins to take over in a way
That was too close.
that normally does not do in movies. I mean, it happens in movies, but not to the extent
Enemy UAV
that
active.
it can happen with Stalker. At the very least, you could watch this some of the absolute best cinematography you're going to see in a science fiction movie ever. This movie was ahead of its time. Again, not for everybody. Do not just watch this because I'm telling you it's a cool sci-fi movie. If you generally like more interesting art films, Criterion Collection type stuff, Stalker is an amazing one. But to get off of that, a movie I don't recommend for everybody, and switch to another art film that I recommend for much more of an audience, Bronson. Now, this stars Tom Hardy as a famous, one of the most famous prisoners Britain has ever had. Someone who constantly caused riots, broke out, was just an absolute maniac, and Tom Hardy kills it. This is one of the roles he did right before he played Bane. In fact, this is one of the first times Tom Hardy was ever as muscle.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
He used to be really thin, and this was one of the first times he put on a bunch of muscle. He plays a wild man in this movie, and is directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, who would eventually go on to direct Drive. If you've ever seen any of his other movies, you know he does weird stuff. The Bronson is kind of in the middle with him in terms of how weird it is. It does go in weird directions, but it's also highly consumable. You have a blast watching Tom Hardy play this character. So while this is somewhat of an art film, it's done so in a way that I think it's going to appeal to a lot of folks watching, especially if you're a fan of Tom Hardy. You have to watch him do this Bronson character. Now we're going to switch things up with a World War II drama from Daniel Craig.
Enemy UAV active.
Not only is he in this driver, about a bunch of Jews that were hiding out in the woods during World War II and defending.
Gas is moving. You're back in the action.
The war. So you do get some scenes of that, but it's also just a very good wartime drama. Now, obviously, there are plenty of great movies that are depicting what happened to the Jews in World War II, but there aren't many depicting what these folks did, where they decided to fight back and try to live off the grid. I don't know if they called it the grid back in the 1940s, but it is that type of living, and Daniel Craig does a great job. The supporting cast is great. Again, there's some great action. This is just a good movie that I guess because there's so many great movies in the World War II genre, it gets overshadowed. But still solid stuff. It's hanging out on HBO Max. Used to be on Netflix. I would recommend it periodically, but it'll likely be here for a little while as well. All right, and then my number one pick is Spanish language. You're going to have to read subtitles, and I'm sorry, it's going to be hard to keep up with because this is a movie about time travel, but it's one of the best ones I've seen this century, Time Crimes. In this movie, you follow a character who's accusing of this bizarre thing happening
Yeah.
Friendly loadout drop on the way. Get to the new safe zone. Gas is closing in. You've got another chance to make a difference.
I would put this story up there with movies like Memento.
The enemy won this battle, but we'll be back.
If you generally like movies like that, Time Crimes is excellent stuff. You also get kind of a little bit of a slasher movie vibe in the mix as well. It's just this incredible soup that tastes unlike anything else I've ever seen. I've absolutely enjoyed this movie. It's really wild stuff. Again, you are going to have to read subtitles. It is well worth it for Time Crimes, but that is the list. Have you seen any lesser-known movies lately you want to let me know about? Who knows, one of your recommendations might make it onto a future video. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring another video. I really did enjoy working with Squarespace before they became a sponsor. I mean, I really do highly recommend them. I also recommend going over to darrenvandam.com and signing up for my newsletter. I'm just about to release that first issue, and that is going to be a regular newsletter that's going to come to your inbox, packed with additional movie recommendations. There's also going to be recommendations for shows and music and other stuff, too. So make sure to sign up for that before the first one comes out. But I will keep making these videos as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking out the special HBO Max episode.
Holding for deployment. Take this time to ready up. Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the side.
Welcome to the Full Story series, where we take some of our older videos in which we took trade paperbacks and things that need to be worked down into identical bites, giving you a ton of motion commentary with voices and music. We take a bunch of those older videos and find them into a giant.
Like when typical, I feel like I'm sacrificing much like.
Alright, so we're going to today 5 exercises for a big chest, strong chest, powerful chest. I'm going to help you develop size, shape. Oh, that's scary, but.
Welcome back, ladies and gents.
I still can't believe you lost to the 49.
Playtime's over. Stand by for deployment to the war zone.
Today we're going to talk about 5 things that you need to avoid and
Resurgence. Gas is approaching your position. Get to the safe zone. Survive the countdown to secure your redeployment. Earning points speeds up the countdown. Cash drop on the way. It's payday, gents. Kill all targets. Go. Enemy dropping into the AO.
Fuck.
Enemy UAV active.
So welcome if you're new to the channel, but this is the second time I've done a video on this topic, meaning that it's the previous 20 that I did about a year and a half ago. I'll put a link to that in the description below, and because of that, there's some movies like Coldwar that did not make the other one, but go check it out when you're done.
Good shit.
On Netflix. And below each video, what the intensity level is of the sex, blood, and bullets with each of the movies that we're talking about.
Let's fuck him
Got a
up.
second chance. Make it count.
Is about in the last days of American crime barely squeaks onto this list all the way in the back at number 20. Now, this is a Netflix original movie that came out in the last year, and it is wild. It is packed with sexual bullets, but there is a lot missing from it as well. They packed a lot of style in, a lot of graphic material, and an interesting concept.
Lay us on that time, but we'll settle.
All of that stuff together is kind of essential for a really good movie. Is really lacking here, and this is based on a graphic novel series by the same name. And the basic breakdown is that this takes place in the near future.
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon. Enemy soldier nearby. Enemy dropping into the AO.
Classic setup, classic and it just goes really no matter how good or bad they are.
Enemy soldiers nearby.
Possibly the most brutal, upsetting movie on this list, at least in the top 3 on this list, is also a Netflix original movie from France. It's called Rogue City. I believe in some regions it's also called Bronx. I think that maybe just isn't quite.
Training's over. Time to see what you've learned.
Crime movie, but it does circle around an elite unit of the Shield.
Alright. I'm gonna have a good round this time.
Resurgence. Rush to the safe zone. You got gas closing in fast. Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your redeployment. Earn points to secure it faster.
It's happening a lot in this movie, and it's almost too much, but it's got a slick look.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Man kind of movie, except it's just
Hunt the enemy before they hunt you.
Directed by the guy that did fans of that genre should check this out just with the right recommendations. Okay, I've got another Netflix original from France, and then we were
Recon's up.
language movies on this list. However,
UAV beginning flyover.
we have dubbing, and the dubbing is quite good. Now, with barely any bullets or blood, Budapest is stacked with sexual content.
Enemy
And
UAV
it's about
active.
guys who quit their day jobs in order to start a bachelor party service where they take groups of men into Budapest.
Enemy UAV active.
UAV
is out of fuel. Returning for resupply.
I kind of kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I kept waiting for some sort of crime element to come into play because they're doing some
Enemy
shady
UAV
things
active.
and there is some shady places in this movie. But it really is just about a couple of guys who quit their job and start this bachelor party business. But the sexual content in this movie is wild. I mean, it doesn't stop, it keeps going, and it's really funny. However, I do need to explain that I think there's like a cultural thing here.
Enemy UAV active.
Characters is one of the biggest I've ever seen in a movie, and it's not going to work for everybody, but if you do that and you find it funny or it doesn't bother you, then this is just a really funny movie. Kind of in the vein of The Hangover, just, again, not quite quite as good, but hang in there with me. We got better stuff coming up on this list. Now, one of the most violent and sex-filled movies Jason Statham was actually just recently added to Netflix. It's called Parker. Now, it's a criminal who's out for revenge for some guy who's screwed him over. Kind of a classic setup. In fact, it's almost a ripoff of a movie I love from the 60s called Point Blank, which they later did a remake of with Mel Gibson called Payback. And Parker is based on a book that is essentially...
Enemy UAV active!
It's a pretty good rated R Jason Statham movie. Jennifer Lopez is in it as well, and while they definitely put her in here to sort of trick people into thinking they were going to see her naked...
Gas is moving!
She's not. But she is very interesting in her character. I did not expect her to be such an interesting character. She basically plays this real estate agent who's had enough and decides she wants to have some fun and kind of throws herself into the middle of this heist situation with this Parker character. And she's got kind of this wild, fun personality about it, too. I really enjoyed that aspect in a way I didn't expect to. And obviously it's fun to see Jason Statham kick people's teeth in, but it's even better when it's rated R and there's the appropriate amount of blood, and it just works better. And it's not always the case. He's such a big star, they tend to try to go PG-13 with his movies. This is one of the better rated R ones. I had fun with it, even if it is a little too much by the book for my taste. Now, you would expect a movie about the men who first monetized porn on the internet to be filled with sex. And it is. But there's a surprising amount of violence in middlemen. Now, this movie is, I think, about 10 years, probably a little more than 10 years old now. But, stacked cast, all great actors, Giovanni Ribisi, Luke Wilson, Gabriel Mock, James Caan, Terry Crews is in it, Kelsey Grammer, Robert Forster. It's got an incredible cast to it.
Got a loadout drop inbound.
Porn was available. It's about the first people that created e-commerce. They monetized things and allowed people to spend money on the internet. And ultimately that changed the world. But then this story is really sort of...
You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated.
Very interesting. Got kind of a Wolf of Wall Street type of a thing going on. If you like things like that, this movie's kind of a party. And it does have some other things going on that make it more than that. That make it more... Well, my next pick is kind of an obvious one. I think some of you are going to be surprised to see how far back on the list I put Machete Kills. Now, Robert Rodriguez is one of my favorite directors. I love most of what he does. He's brilliant at making movies.
Loadout drop headed your way.
I find the Machete movies to sort of reach a little bit too much, and they self-parody his work a little bit too much for my taste, but still, a fun time at the movies. I mean, Danny Trejo is one of my favorite actors. I don't know if you can call him a character actor because he's almost the same character all the time, but it's one of the best characters ever, and Machete is one of his best characters. There's also just fun cameos from all sorts of people that are there to have fun. And that's really all this movie's trying to do, is just have a good time with some bonkers shit. And I love it. I just think Sin City, Desperado, some of
Only 25 left. Keep moving forward.
Too much fun with it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, my number 13 pick is a hidden gem with a really great throwback vibe. It's called The Ghost Who Walks. This feels like something straight out of the 70s. Even the jacket the guy's wearing is from the 70s, but it's about a guy who gets released from prison and is trying to tie up loose ends in his life, and the clock is ticking. There's something happening that he's sort of racing against. So it's kind of a one crazy night type of a movie. It does take place at Christmas, but in no way is this any type of that the holiday season.
Gas is inbound.
Really sort of contrast some of the violent and sexual content that does occur in this movie. This one's gritty. It's got this sort of seedy underbelly element, but it's not necessarily off-putting either. I don't think this is going to be inaccessible for too many people. I love it because I do love movies from the 70s that this is akin to. If that's not already something you've developed a flavor for, I can see where this one maybe seems a little too simple or not quite finished to you. Now, another example with sex, blood, bullets, and quite a few kicks to the head is The Debt Collector. Now, this stars one of my favorite action stars, Scott Adkins. He is fantastic. I've recommended quite a few of his movies. While he does make a lot of movies, they're not all bangers, but this is one that is exceptional. Now, this is also done for fairly little money, but that is what I love about this movie. Not the fact that it looks low budget, the fact that it is low budget, and they had some amazing fight sequences in it with a lot of damage and destruction to some property. And then, not only is Scott Adkins really good in this, but his co-star, Louis Mandylor, is fantastic. Like, I remember seeing this guy on sitcoms when I was a kid, and he's sort of turned into this really dynamic actor. I've seen him.
You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated.
He's always got a different accent, a different character. I love his character in this one.
Fire sale is active. Fire station costs are adjusted.
So much so that they actually made a sequel that just came out this past year. It is also included on Netflix. I recommend them both. I think the sexual content was a little bit lighter in the sequel, though, which is why the original makes this list. And then we will round out my bottom 10 with what I consider to be a really underappreciated Netflix original action movie, Six Underground. Now, I understand there's a lot of dumb things in this movie. In fact, the overall concept is kind of dumb. The delivery can be a little dumb. However,
stay vigilant. Resurgence.
Recon overflight inbound.
UAV getting flyover.
It can be a little bit irritating. In every Michael Bay movie, this one's no exception. And I kind of like it more than some of the other things he's done because it's so weird and so wild. And it does. He's currently so famous for his PG-13 movies like the Transformers movies.
UAV is out of fuel. Returning for resupply. You've got gas moving in.
Example of that. While it is not a great movie, it is a fun watch and it exemplifies everything we're talking about here on this list.
Recon overflight inbound.
UAV beginning flyover.
Sorry for yelling. So maybe you're watching this video in the future.
Fire sales done. Prices are back to normal.
You watch my other video and you want to watch one of the movies and it's not on Netflix anymore. You can access all the movies I'm talking
That was
about.
too close.
Good shit, good shit, good
UAV is
shit.
out of fuel. Returning for resupply.
VPN service. All VPN
Hostile dropping into the area. Resurging. Go get your revenge.
Out there, they keep no logs, they do all the best practices. But on top of that, specialized servers targeted at specific streaming services in different countries, and then you can switch between those servers.
Resurgence is no longer available. Make your actions count. You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated.
Available in an array of different countries. And they're not foreign language things or anything like that. They're big blockbuster American movies that are available overseas and not available here sometimes, as well as just other more interesting things you might not ever discover if you unlock them using CyberGhost. CyberGhost VPN is super easy to use, and
that was too close.
They make that guarantee. So if you find that you're not making good use of it, you can cancel it for a full refund. They have great 24/7 customer support, so they're there to help you set it up on multiple devices. Speaking of devices, you can use it at the same time. All the different types of devices you use. Right now, it's $219 a month. That's almost at vast libraries of movies.
Bad spot, bad spot.
They start that time, but we'll sell it.
I have no plans to cancel it anytime soon, but let's go ahead and move on with the rest of this list. Now, despite featuring zero, and I mean zero bullets, and having been panned by critics in the early 2000s, Alexander manages to squeak part of my top 10. This is directed by Oliver Stone, who has done quite a few, I want to say historical movies, even though he does change things historically for some weird reason, but Alexander is a beautiful movie, really stunning, and is a very epic telling of the Alexander saga. There's a lot going on in this movie. Anybody that's into any kind of historical stuff, or maybe you're just sort of missing Game of Thrones, this could be a good movie to watch.
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon.
This could be very it's also a good performance from Colin Farrell. It's not my favorite of his by any means. He does do a good job. There are some other people like Rosario Dawson. It's going to be a little overwhelming.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the star.
Netflix on this list is also the news. Speaking of Game of Thrones, this stars Peter Dinklage and liked a lot. It just didn't quite work for me because of one thing, and that is the fact that Rosebud Pike's character is one of the biggest forget about the guy who's doing this. She is a really long elderly people and is going to all of their ways.
You'll live.
It's awful.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
And then as the movie progresses, it's really kind of wild. I did not care what because she is such an awful human being that it didn't work for me. It looks great.
Resurgence. Gas is approaching your position. Get to the safe zone. Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your deployment. Earn points to secure it faster.
Bad guy, front.
But there's also a surprising amount of bullets in this movie, and even more surprising
Kill all targets. Go.
because this movie does deal with some really elaborate teases, more so than anything I've ever seen in a strip club. Demi Moore got into incredible shape for this movie. I mean, it's like the kind of outrageous shape for this movie. Brooke is absolutely hilarious.
Enemy UAV active.
Like stunning congressman. It's really great stuff from him. Robert Patrick plays a scumbag in the role and then he does a great job. So there are some good laughs. Even if the overall cast is a little dopey, it's a little forced. I mean, let's admit this was his see Demi Moore naked. She's naked in this movie quite a bit.
Motherfucker. Good shit.
Especially if you're going to get a kick out of seeing Burt Reynolds walk
We're
around.
returning you to the front line. Go get them.
Just recently released Hidden Gems. It keeps you alive. This is your classic. Somebody's chasing me through the woods. What big of life type of a setup. And what's interesting about this one is it's about a lesbian couple on a vacation. They're out in the wilderness. Something goes wrong. And I even remember when I first talked about this movie, I mentioned that they were lesbians. And of course, someone had a kind of comments as to why I had to point out that they were lesbians because it's irrelevant. No, it's not. It's very relevant to the story. It's amazing what the story revolves around. And it makes it more interesting than any other sort of run-of-the-mill, run-through-the-woods type of a movie. There's something going on that makes this movie work, whereas I probably wouldn't have been interested in it otherwise because I've seen it a dozen times, and the lesbian angle is part of it. Yes, there's some sexual content mixed in, but there's quite a bit of blood. This is kind of a wild, trippy movie at times, too.
Enemy UAV active.
It's like your kind of thing. It definitely is. If you typically don't go for movies like this,
You're losing ground. Move it.
it's extreme and unusually weird for this type of movie, so it's probably not going to be for you. Now, I do need to warn you that much of, not all, but much of the sexual content in my next pick is of sexual assault. Now, that is the only type of, I guess, trigger warning that I believe in. Not because I don't think people should see that type of content in film, but because anyone who's the victim of sexual assault doesn't want to be surprised by it in a movie that I recommend. So I try to be careful with that, but David Fincher's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is another one that I consider to be criminally underrated. Now, I'm aware...
Positive ID on the bounty target. Let's make this quick. The bounty target is down. Marvelous.
And I'm also aware that David Fincher's version, while it is just an American remake, is not really critically acclaimed the way some of his other movies are. However, it is still a really well-done movie. It's definitely one of David Fincher's drearier movies. I mean, it's up there in 7 territory, just in terms of how gloomy and dark the movie is. If you like things like that, David Fincher has this amazing eye for it, where he films this really dark, moody stuff.
Got a loadout drop inbound.
Absolutely beautiful. I mean, the cinematography, as dark and gloomy as it is in this movie, is stunning. By no means is it a David Fincher movie, but I think it is underappreciated because of the weird reviews that it got, which are somewhat understandable.
Gas is inbound. Marking new safe zone.
Serial killer movie. Now, before directing The Joker, but after directing the Hangover series, Todd Phillips did a little arms dealer movie with Jonah Hill and Miles Teller called War Dogs. Now, I didn't have much expectations for this. There's a movie with Nicolas Cage called Lord of War that I think is just a brilliant movie of arms dealer.
Thank you.
Damn close to being just as good of a movie. I would not have expected that, especially coming from the director of The Hangover. Not that that movie's not well directed, but it's just a very different type of storytelling. And after seeing War Dogs back when it came out, I was like, oh, no, this guy can definitely do the Joker movie. I didn't know if he was going to be able to do it, but because he did such a good job with this crime movie that is also really fun and exciting, again, kind of like Wolf of Wall Street, I knew he was going to be able to do it. This is a really great, fun, entertaining movie that does juggle some pretty heavy. Really well-rounded. More bullets for sure. Decent amount of blood. And these guys.
Damn, good shit.
Now,
Man, I'm about to smash.
really awful things is not.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
Kiss
You
me
got
on
a
the
second
rebound.
chance. Make it count.
This is actually directed by fashion designer Tom Ford.
Screen notification. Headset disconnected.
All of that is invisible on the first class. It is a masterpiece of storytelling. Even though it's not my favorite Martin Scorsese movie, the magic trick of a movie, the only real flaw is that the ultimate twist is something we've seen used quite a few times before, which I think weakens the overall effect. However, it's done in a way that I think no other directors could have done. Could have made it as rich, and maybe it didn't need to be as rich as he made it, but damn, he did a good job with this movie. Another one of my all-time favorite directors is Paul Thomas Anderson, and while I love Boogie Nights, which you currently catch on HBO Max, and The Master, which is also available on Netflix, my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie is There Will Be Blood. I have loved this movie since the first frame came up in the movie theater, watched it multiple times in the movie theater, watched it multiple times since. I love everything about it. I love the score by Johnny Greenwood. I love the cinematography. Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis's performance is fantastic, but I happen to think it's maybe his best. Yes, there are some things he's done in other movies that are maybe a little more impressive.
Holding for deployment. Take this time to ready up. Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Training's over. Time to see what you've learned. Resurgence. Rush to the safe zone. You got gas closing in fast. Hold out until the countdown is complete to redeploy for free. Any point-worthy action will shorten its duration. Targets are up. Take them out. Do better this time.
Taking the wheel.
Now, in a recent video,
Enemy UAV active.
Scarface was one of the top rated movies of all time. Now, while I still stand by that statement, it still makes the #1 pick on this list. Let me explain. So, Scarface is a masterpiece. It's beautifully directed by Brian De Palma. Amazing performance, not just from Al Pacino, but everybody on screen, including Michelle Pfeiffer, really bring their A game. The movie does obviously feel dated, but you can watch this one just like Bonnie and Clyde and see all the influence that was brought to the table. They're still making movies like this purely based on the success, purely based on the continued success of Scarface. They can easily slap some crap movie together, and as long as the poster and the marketing makes it sound exactly like Scarface, enough people will watch it to pay for what it costs to make it. That said, as many as they've made, they rarely make them better than Scarface. The only drug movie I would say that's maybe better than Scarface would be the third act of Goodfellas, but I'm kind of partial to that movie. I mean, even if you're not a movie buff, just not ever having seen Scarface, the amount of reference...
You're losing ground. Move it.
...is unreal. This is a highly parodied, highly referenced movie, and just happens to be a fantastic drug movie. Let me know in the comments below what you look forward to watching most. Also, help me thank the Patreon supporters. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, you can check the link in the description below to see what that's all about. Or you can follow the link to become a channel member, where you get access to exclusive videos so that you never run out of good movies to watch. But I will keep making videos like this one as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this video, and you will see me on the next one. Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today we're going to be talking about 20 of the absolute best movies currently on Netflix.
Loadout drop headed your way.
So, like usual on this channel, this is a list of 20 movie recommendations currently available on Netflix.
Gas is inbound. Marking new safe zone.
These are 20 movies you probably have, but that you probably also forgot how good they are. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these movies. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth, talk about some behind-the-scenes things to get you a little interested in revisiting some movies you like to see.
Can I back at it?
Make it mean something. You made the top 25. Nearly there.
Let's start this list off. All three of the matches would probably be the least.
Less than 25 remain. Learn from the lot.
Chris Hemsworth, Olivia Wilde, and Daniel Bruhl, who is just coming off his success with *Inglourious Bastards*. This is also written by Peter Morgan, who's famous for having written movies like *The Last King of Scotland*, *The Queen*, and *Frost Nixon*. So great, snappy dialogue, but also some amazing racing scenes. This is directed by Ron Howard, and it's one of the best movies I think he's done in the last 10 years or so. I mean, Ron Howard has some incredible movies in his filmography, and I consider Rush to be one of the most overlooked ones that he's ever done. I'm not ashamed to say that Mars Attacks went way over my head back when it came out, but that was because I was 12 years old. Nowadays, I think this is just a movie lover's dream. It's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies because it has so much fun with the sci-fi genre, specifically movies that came out in the 50s and 60s. And Mars Attacks does a great job.
Check weapons and gear. You got time before deployment.
You can tell Tim Burton loves those movies, and he's not doing a parody of them to point out how awful they are. He's doing a parody of sci-fi movies. In addition to that, it is just a fun, wild movie to the gills with some popular. I mean, legitimately, which is 1996 Pierce Brosnan, which was pretty top-tier Pierce Brosnan. You've also got Sarah Jessica Parker, Annette Bening, Glenn Close, Danny DeVito, Martin Short, Michael J. Fox, and then you've got small roles for people like Natalie Portman, Pam Grier, and Jack Black. I know I already mentioned Jack Nicholson, but he plays two roles, which is another thing I didn't get when I was 12. I mean, I would not have said this at the time when I was 12, but now, 25 years later, I would easily put this movie above Independence Day, which came out around the same time. But speaking of 90s action movies, Cliffhanger, I think, is one of Stallone's most overlooked movies, at least underrated. Now, don't get me wrong, it does have an audience, it did do fairly well at the box office, but it was also kind of aimed critically released because it does have some silliness to it. And you've got actors like John Lithgow who typically do a really good job. You see the little camera here. So this movie does hit and miss at times, but it is big ones, real ones, not done in CGI. And Cliffhanger was released in 1993, and to this day, it still holds a place in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most expensive aerial stunt ever done in a movie. It began early on where some people and packages are trying to move from one lane to another across a cable. A lot of the scene was done for real with real stunt people. It cost about
Training's over.
And again,
Time to see what you've learned.
holds a place in the Guinness Book of World Records, even with inflation. There's a long run of cast. Who did some really intense, adult-oriented movies.
Resurgence. Be advised, gas is closing in. Proceed to the safe zone. Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your redeployment. Earn points to secure it faster. Enemy dropping into the AO. Primary objective is to eliminate all enemies. Attack!
But that were still really visually impressive and entertaining to watch. That's a big thing with Warzone. It never forgets to be entertaining. And Spy Kids is filled with props, stunts, all sorts of gadgets and gimmicks. And it is a funny movie for kids.
Do better this time.
It does stay a little longer and creepy for really young kids, but my kids love it.
Supply box marked. Secure the goods.
Adult-centered movies, I can see sort of a parallel, even though his kid-friendly movies are vastly different. He's got quite a few Spy Kids movies and other family-friendly movies over the years, including We Can Be Heroes, which is a Netflix original. It's a decent watch for the kids, but I still consider Spy Kids to be the best movie he ever did for families. Alright, my next pick is not for the family, it's not for the
Enemy dropping into the AO.
But my next one might be director Clint Eastwood's second best movie he ever did in the director's chair. I'm talking about $1 Million Baby. Now this is one that when it was released, I didn't really care too much about it. I don't think I liked it, and it became an instant classic. And it's easy to forget just how good $1 Million Baby actually is. Now, it's very much of a downer of a movie. It's very somber. It can be very depressing, making it not the most rewatchable movie Clint Eastwood's ever done, but it's got some of the best performances in a Clint Eastwood movie, which says a lot. I mean, he's worked with most of some of the greatest actors to ever perform on screen, but in this movie, you get an amazing...
Bounty target identified. Have a little fun, yeah?
This century. Obviously, Hilary Swank is great in it, but I think a lot of people thought she maybe had her 15 minutes with Boys Don't Cry. Came back years later and did this and did an amazing job. Clint Eastwood is good in it. As good as
You're losing ground. Move it.
You also got like good character actors in this that are killing it. Michael Peña's in this, Anthony Mackie is in it, and then Margot Martindale, who you've seen a ton of stuff. She plays the mother. I think this is maybe her best role ever, which says a lot with the amount of work that she's done. So this movie just hits on all cylinders. But the problem with $1 Million is going to put you in a little bit more salient to that before you watch this one. All right, we're going to go back to the action genre with my next pick, but this one's not all action. It's got a lot of political intrigue. It's got some good elements with real kinds of danger. This is one of my favorite Tom Clancy movies. There are a ton of them. Probably not the best Tom Clancy movie. There are certainly better ones, but Clear and Present Danger has so many elements that I absolutely love. This is part of the Jack Ryan series. I've always thought this movie the best Jack Ryan. It's more realistic and less of an action hero, which I think works for this story and Patriot Games. But in Clear and Present Danger, you also get this great role of Willem Dafoe, and then you get some of the other commandos, like Benjamin Bratt.
Drop inbound.
Important role. He is fantastic in this. Incredible action sequences. You get the one with all the white Suburbans and the rocket launchers. There's the missile strike scene, and today
relocation is
but there's a action type thing. They kind of seem to Harrison Ford did such a great job with the character that by him.
You're back in the action.
That he probably would have never found himself in. So I just really enjoyed watching this. This is one of those movies I could put on almost any time, at any point in the movie, and I'm going to enjoy it and finish it. Now, because this list is really just trying to go for the best of what's on Netflix right now, you don't have a lot of comedies on their list. I find comedies to be not as rewatchable unless they're just really, really good. One of the best ones on Netflix right now
25 still remains in the AO.
is Chef. Now, I know this one was wildly popular. If you've never seen Chef, it is going to make you hungry. This is the story of a sort of celebrity chef that gets booted from a restaurant and starts to reboot his career with a food truck. I know that's not the most interesting plot line you've ever heard, but what makes this really interesting to me is it's directed by John Favreau, who's a big-time director who's done a ton of movies, but the story here is very similar to his experience with the Iron Man series. So real quick, the backstory.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
The first one and Iron Man 2. And Iron Man was, I believe, the first or one of the first movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and was and still is largely considered one of the best made, whereas Iron Man 2 is considered to be among the worst. So after directing the second one, he left the Marvel movie.
You're losing ground. Move it.
Did this movie and has since worked his way back up with Disney. And there is a sequence of scenes with the restaurant owner Dustin Hoffman, and you can clearly see this is John Favreau kind of working out this battle he must have had with movie producers and his creativity as a director. I think it's really cool to see it come to life in this theatrical setting of this restaurant. And then you get this
enemy UAV active
bonding thing. John Leguizamo has an amazing role in it. Yes, it has its ups and downs. There is foul language in it. It's almost family friendly, if not for all the F-bombs. But really, it's a broadly appealing movie. I can't imagine there's many people watching this video that would not thoroughly enjoy it. Now, we're going to dial the clock all the way back to 1986 with my next pick, Labyrinth. Now, this one stars a young Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie, and only Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie, because everyone else is either a puppet or in some sort of puppeted costume. Now, this is obviously a Jim Henson movie, but this one was also directed by Jim Henson, and really stands out as one of the more unusual...
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
I guess we'll say. This one and Dark Crystal both really sort of stand out.
Good shit, good shit.
Costs are adjusted.
Labyrinth has held up as a cult classic, but I can tell you,
You aren't done yet.
My kids were still into this movie. It's got an amazing look to it because everything you see, almost everything you see on camera, is in camera. It's got real light.
Less than 25 remain.
This is almost 30 years ago when they were making this thing, or at least when they started planning it and building these costumes. It was almost 30 years ago, and this stuff looks incredible. It really is a shame that that's kind of a lost art. I wish movies were still mixing in some of the practical effects you see in this movie, but every single scene has a new elaborate set, and almost every single sequence looks totally convincing. There's one scene that doesn't hold up, in my opinion, but outside of that, a really impressive watch, and just kind of an amazing story, too. It's a great one to go back and revisit with a family, if you haven't done that yet. Okay, my number 12 pick is another family-friendly pick, and it is the last family-friendly one on this list, but it's also the one and only family-friendly movie from director Marcus.
Practice while you can. You'll be entering the field in a bit.
But Hugo is not only his only family-friendly movie, it's also one of his most beautiful movies. This largely takes place in Paris.
Enemy soldiers nearby.
Beautiful palette and a bunch of really seeing Hugo wasn't enhanced with computer graphics. To me, this is a great example of how the two can work together really well and not come off as fake or rushed or unconvincing. The world of Hugo,
Enemy soldier nearby.
it looks a little bit imaginary, a little bit more wonderful and beautiful. Just serves a purpose for the amazing. Not just in combat in this, but you get a great role with Kingsley, one of the favorite.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Baron Cohen. Great. And typical top-notch, incredibly executed. Better classes than Martin Scorsese movies, and Hugo is just another fantastic.
Enemy soldier nearby. Enough
Enough
training. Now you fight a real enemy.
That are modern day classics. I never left training day. Gangster cop role really stands out in this as
Resurgence.
the main
Rush to the safe zone. You got gas closing in fast.
Better than that.
Withstand a resurgence countdown to guarantee your redeployment. Earn points to secure it faster. Heads up, lads. Catch drop inbound. Secure the cargo. Enemy soldier nearby. Target locked. Take them out.
Movies ever made. And it's a cop movie that they're probably not going to be making, at least coming out of Hollywood, for quite some time. But Training Day is one of those examples of a movie that is greater than the sum of its parts, meaning it's better than the Denzel Washington performance. It's better than Ethan Hawke's performance, which also got an Academy Award nomination. I think it's football's best movie. I don't know that he's ever topped it, and he might never be able to. And then you've also got a lot of small roles from some people who are not great actors, like Snoop Dogg. They do really good in this movie, and that their scenes work. Again, one of the best cop movies of all time, and certainly one of the best, if not the best, you're going to find on Netflix right now. So before moving on with the top 10 on this list, I wanted to show you something about
Enemy UAV active.
This is cologne that I have moved with I don't know how many times. Someone gave this to me when I was 18 or 19. It is still about because I don't wear it. Today's sponsor, Scentbird, has completely changed my view of my habits. Scentbird is a really cool.
Here we go again.
What you do is you can and you'll save 30% off your first month. And what you'll get is one of these little containers that rolls up a tube of cologne, and every month they're going to send you a new vial of something different tailored to your specific tastes. Or since it's not. My wife smells it on me. I like the way it smells. This month they send me and they come with these cards that are really great because they tell you what sort of scents are in that particular fragrance. This one is Skylar Salt Air, which has driftwood, sea salt, and seaweed in it. I can tell you, I put it on, I smell like I've been on vacation. It is fantastic. And then they also sent Dolce & Gabbana, the one for men. I guess they only have one fragrance for men. It's kind of a more traditional sort of musky, whiskey sort of smelling thing.
Enemy soldier nearby. You're losing ground. Move it.
Just as many, if not more, perfumes. But what is so great about it is when you three simple questions, and what sort of scents to align you with, giving you a chance to try things you might not normally try. And believe it or not, this little vial, I'm almost at the end of my Versace one. It's got 140 sprays in it. I can attest, almost at the end, I have used the hell out of this thing. It's got more than you need for a month, but you're only going to pay $15 a month, and with the discount,
Damn, I didn't get the kill.
$11 for your first month. And I can tell you, vials this size, they go for $30 in the store, easily. It's incredible how expensive this stuff is, but save money and find fragrances that you might have never tried otherwise. And trust me, if you smell good, people will notice. Again, go to the link in in the video description below. Use code VANDAM2. You'll save 30% off your first month. I cannot recommend this service enough, but speaking of recommendations, let's move on with my top 10 recommendations.
Enemy UAV active.
Now, I've mentioned some great movies. As you can imagine, the top 10 on this list does feature some of my favorite directors, the first of which being David Fincher. Now, my number 10 pick is not my favorite David Fincher movie, but it's one of my
Loadout
favorite
drop
films to talk
inbound.
about because it's one of his more overlooked movies, The Game.
Stop the car! Stop the car!
Enemy UAV active. You got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated. Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
The game was released in 1997, 2 years after Seven, which might still hold up as David Fincher's best work. But the I do think it's in a similar class. While it's not as heavy, not
Enemy
as
advanced
gritty, it does
UAV
have a
overhead.
lot
Be
of
mindful.
interesting elements to it. If you are not familiar with the game, Michael Douglas plays a wealthy banker who is invited to participate in a game. Things like Squid
Only
Game.
25
This
remain.
is very difficult to tell whether or not it's part of your real life or not. And the movie does an excellent job of portraying it. It's a very tricky sort of magic trick thing for the movie to do, to keep you guessing as much as the movie wants. But the game manages to nail that to a T, so much so that you can rewatch the movie, see what the twists are, and they're almost just as good the second time around, which is extremely rare. And like all David Fincher movies, the game looks unusually good. For a movie that came out in 1997, it looks as if it was filmed yesterday. The game is still one of the best movies you can ever watch on Netflix. So we already mentioned Robert Rodriguez with Spy Kids, and I said there was another movie of his further up on this list. Now, this is one of my favorite action movies of all time. In a movie ever. This movie opens up with Steve Buscemi walking into a bar to tell a story, and
You got gas moving in.
Steve Buscemi does an amazing job. He always does, but he has a lot of fun with this character, and I absolutely love every little line that he drops. It's so perfect.
Beer? All I got is piss one chango. That's my brand.
He walks in. I absolutely love everything about the opening sequence, and then it just rolls into this great action movie from the 90s that, again, was done on a fairly low budget.
Enemy UAV active.
With way more money than it did, and the movie's packed with really great moments, like Quentin Tarantino's bar bet joke. And let's not
Enemy
forget
soldier
some
nearby.
Sex scene, even if a lot of the stuff is not practical. Cool. There's no point counting bullets in this movie. They fire.
You got a second chance. Make it count.
You only really reload when the script needed someone to have to reload for some sort of moment of tension.
Gas is inbound. Marking you safe zone.
Whether it's practical or tactical.
Good shit, good shit.
Less than 25 remain.
Which is much more tactical and precise. I like them both. They're both entertaining for different reasons. The point is, Desperado never forgets to do the one thing so many movies seem to completely forget today, and that is to be thoroughly entertaining. I will also mention that Once Upon a Time in Mexico is also available on Netflix right now. It is a great companion to Desperado. I used to love it more. Now, I do consider Desperado to be the better movie, so it makes the list, although I do recommend them both. But with a similar title, my next pick is Once Upon a Time in America. Now, this is from Sergio Leone with Once Upon a Time in the West and the Man with No Name trilogy. In fact,
Practice
Sergio
while you
Leone
can.
directed
You'll be
some
entering the
of
field in a bit.
Westerns of all time. And while Once Upon a Time in America is not technically a Western, it's still showing the modern but it takes place in New York and has some of the most beautiful cinematography ever put to film. That is not an overstatement. You do need to be pretty patient for this one, but instead of waiting for something to happen...
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Everything is set up with such precision. Almost every single
Practice is over. The real fight begins now.
It's really amazing stuff, and you've got great performances. James Wood, however, if you don't generally like older, slower-paced movies, it's not my job to twist
Resurgence. Be advised, gas is closing in. Proceed to the safe zone. Hold out until the countdown is complete to redeploy for free. Any point-worthy action will shorten its duration.
In terms of laughs per minute, I think Team America is easily one of the funniest movies ever.
Hostile dropping into the area. Primary to eliminate all enemies. Attack!
Shit. Son of a bitch.
You've got another chance to make a difference.
These guys also have the award nomination and multiple Tony awards. I mean, incredibly clever. And Team America isn't just funny because the puppets look funny, that's a major part of it. Team America nails this amazing balance.
Supply box marked. Secure the goods.
Gung-ho, extreme patriotism that followed 9/11, and the hypocrisy in Hollywood. I mean, this movie is a giant shit on a bunch of people in Hollywood.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Produced movies are never gonna do. It's just something you're not gonna do. Which just adds an extra layer of icing on the cake with Team America. But honestly, it's got so many different kinds of laughs. It's got the crude, rude ones. It's got just laughs, pure silliness, and then it's got really clever laughs. Again, it's some of the hypocrisy in Hollywood and just the weird kind of false assumptions that a lot of Americans have about other cultures and things. It's just, it's pitch perfect stuff. If you have not watched it in a while, especially if you never gave it a chance, this is comedic gold that deserves to be watched. Easily one of the funniest, if not the funniest thing you could possibly watch on Netflix right now. Another broadly appealing classic that you probably have not watched in quite a while, is What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Now, Johnny Depp is the star here. This was sort of his follow-up.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Emerging megastar. But Leonardo DiCaprio steals every scene he's in. And what DiCaprio does so brilliantly and beautifully in What's Eating Gilbert Grape is he's playing someone who's mentally handicapped.
Yes, he's moving.
Actors to do characters like this in a way where it doesn't look like they're mocking, or it's just a tightrope walk. But in addition to that, his first
my man.
but he's also playing his character as if he's a I mean, as someone who has young children, I'm not sure how this teenage boy figured out how to act like a 3-year-old.
Enemy UAV active.
Time and time again, it is a wonder to watch. Prior to this, he'd only done television and 2 smaller movies. This Boy's Life, which is a pretty good movie with Robert De Niro, but it's not great, and Critters 3. Yes, Leonardo DiCaprio's first movie is Critters 3, but Gilbert Grape has so many fantastic moments in it. Even if they're not all happy moments, it is just a beautiful movie that was really well done, and it's just highly rewatchable, enjoyable for so many people. It's not going to stay on Netflix forever. If it's been a while since you've seen it, I highly recommend pursuing it before it's gone. Paul Thomas Anderson is one of my favorite directors. He's easily in my top 10 in terms of directors go, and there's quite a few good movies from him on Netflix.
Good shit.
And Magnolia, but far and away my favorite of
Loadout drop headed your way.
Going back for his ass.
You aren't done yet.
There will be it's going to take place in Southern California. It's not based on
Oh,
Next time will be
motherfucker.
different. Return to base for
It was
deep.
filmed in Plano, Texas, because the oil industry changed the landscape of Southern California so much They couldn't find a place that looked the way it used to before the oil industry came to town. But not only was this filmed in Plano, Texas, No Country for Old Men was filmed at the exact same time in Plano, Texas, which is not a huge town, and had two huge movie crews trying to coexist in it at the same time. Both movies would go on to be nominated for Best Picture later that year, No Country for Old Men being the winner. And while I do love that movie, and it's one of my favorites from the Coen brothers, I think There Will Be Blood is the bigger achievement.
Practice while you can. You'll be entering the field in a bit.
This movie looks incredible. It all is beautiful. Every single shot could be a painting. A lot of good
Enemy dropping into the AO.
And then on top of all of that, it's this amazing production, this incredible sort of Citizen Kane type of a story. You also get what I think is easily Daniel Day-Lewis's best performance. Now, like most people, I think Daniel Day-Lewis is a genius. I think he's had obviously some amazing roles. I'm not sure any of them, and I'm including Lincoln, My Left Foot, all of that, I'm not sure any of them are as good as There Will Be Blood. This character is its own being. He became this character. He invented him out of thin air. He's not going off of some real person. It's wild to see this character come to life on screen, and it makes not only the main scenes completely come to life with this energy and this intensity.
Enemy soldier nearby.
More movies like this. We need all movies to be like this. I like stupid movies too, but movies like this are very rare, which is another reason why I love this so much. So Blade Runner: The Final Cut is one of the best cuts.
Enough training. Now you fight a real enemy.
Which earns it this spot on the
Hostile
list.
dropping into the area.
1982 was so there's not enough CGI or anything to make
Destination marked.
Resurgence. Gas is approaching your position. Get to the safe zone. Hold out until the countdown is complete to redeploy for free. Any point-worthy action will shorten its duration.
Much to the story, but the studio thought we were all too stupid to understand this movie is about. The Final Cut doesn't have that in it. It also has
Enemy soldier nearby. Execute all targets in the AO.
So this is the version of this movie.
Enemy UAV active.
The best. But like I said, the movie can fly over your head.
Fucking pro.
Essence of the point of it.
We're returning you to the front line. Go get them.
During its runtime, and I think Ridley Scott nailed that. I still hold this and Alien up as two of his best movies ever made, and two of the best science fiction movies ever made.
Enemy UAV active.
Blade Runner today is been replicated. But Blade Runner in 1982 was such an original concept and such an original vision.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
It still holds up today and is still just unbelievable to watch. Now, while I do think the Final Cut is
Enemy UAV active.
I actually don't think Apocalypse Now Redux is the best version of that movie. It added a bunch of scenes that don't really help the movie move along. If anything, it sort of like stalls out in the middle a little bit, but it is remastered and looks incredible. This is one of the best ways to watch the movie, even if it's got a little more fat on it than the original cut. It looks stunning. Scene after scene looks so incredible, and this movie has such a wild backstory into how intense the production-wise, there's actually a documentary about it called Hearts of Darkness. Francis Ford Coppola started to lose his mind, and also he might have been doing a little too much. But it's neither here nor there. In this movie, not only him, but Martin Sheen, a lot of the crew really delved into a dark place to create this thing, and that's ultimately what the movie's about.
Gas is inbound.
And there's something magical about it that you can't quite put your finger on that makes this thing work. Better than most movies work. And then you also got some amazing production stories like Lawrence Fishburne, who was actually only 15 when he was cast in this movie, but he lied and said that he was 18. That launched his career, and we know how well that went for him. It is a little grueling to watch because it's kind of a punishing movie. There's so much brutality in it, but it is a genius work of filmmaking. While The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 are kind of regarded as Francis Ford Coppola's best work,
Enemy UAV
I
active.
think Apocalypse Now might be his most genius work. Now, while my next pick is not necessarily a genius work of filmmaking, Leon the Professional is an unusually broadly appealing action movie with some iconic roles and moments, including what is quite possibly Gary Oldman's best villain, and Gary Oldman is quite possibly one of the best actors to play villains in movie history.
Man, bring me everyone. You mean everyone?
Loadout drop headed your
I
way.
give it Vincent Price in terms of like Hall of Fame best villains. And then the Professional is one of his most realistic yet most chilling villains. You also get this early role from Natalie Portman. She makes it on the list twice.
Get to the new safe zone. Gas is closing in.
Professional, as inappropriate as it may seem, it makes for just some classic moments, and then you do get really fantastic scenes of action that again look and feel real, even if they're sort of scripted as being over the top. Now, this is written and directed by Luc Besson, who has done a ton of action movies like The Fifth Element, and his movies can be hit and miss, but I think this one is easily sort of the crown jewel of his filmography. Even though he's done some cool stuff, nothing is as good and, again, as broadly appealing as Leon the Professional. The moments in this movie are so good. I don't care how many times you've seen this movie over the years, or if you own a copy, like I do, it's going to be well worth just turning on Netflix, because you can spend 20, 30 minutes, hell, you can spend an hour looking around on Netflix. You're not going to find anything better than Leon the Professional, except for my #1 pick, which is easily the most widely known and appreciated movie, not only on this list, not only on Netflix, but possibly ever. But I am going to tell you some things you might not know about Jaws. So there's so much lore behind the release of Jaws, and sort of how many people watched it and how many people got scared out of the water, the fact that it's the first summer blockbuster to ever exist. But that can't overshadow how exceptional Jaws actually is. And it's not just good because you don't see the shark till late in the movie, even though that does help. But that was actually done on accident. It wasn't intentional. But that's also part of the magic of what makes this movie work so well. And not just because there's so many good lines.
$10,000 for me by myself. But then you get the head, tail, the whole damn thing.
Good shit.
You're redeploying. Make it mean something. Enemy team is tracking your position.
For example, you maybe never noticed this shot. It seems like a very simple scene, two guys talking to each other, but the camera never cuts to it. It's one single shot as they're on this ferry, and I'll speed it up so you can see how the cinematography changes and their position changes as the power dynamics shift during the conversation. It's subtle, but incredibly brilliant and subliminally effective.
You yell Barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Jaws is full of that stuff. Another example is how the mood in this scene gradually changes from joy to pure dread as Quint tells the story of sharks feeding on men after a shipwreck, which is a true story that they put in
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
right before they begin to battle the shark. I mean, that story heightens the
Fire sale is active. Fire station costs are adjusted.
The action kicks off. It is absolutely brilliant, and trust me, the movie is packed with stuff like that. I'm just giving you a couple examples because we don't have all day. When you take all those things into consideration, even the accidental movies that were made, I hope you get to
Enemy UAV
movies
active.
you've likely seen before. It's my first time trying something like that. This video is running a little longer than usual, so tell me in the comments below, do you like this format? By no means am I moving away from our typical videos, but if you like this one, I may do videos.
Watch your six. Resurgence will be gone soon. Objective is to eliminate the bounty target. Only 25 left. Keep moving forward.
To exclusive videos right here on YouTube. But I will keep making these videos as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for watching this special Netflix episode, and you'll see me on the next one.
You can breathe. You lost the enemy trackers. You've got gas moving in.
The Marvel Universe has been completely restructured to have a different history and a different set of superheroes. This is Heroes Reborn, presented to you by the Comic Story channel. This is where we take our favorite heroes and interacts and single issues and we break them down into
Fire sale done. Prices are back to normal.
Almost all the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective.
Bounty target is
The
down.
Heroes Reborn
Marvelous.
series is an alternate universe created within Marvel Comics a few months ago. The general idea is, what if Captain America was never thought, and therefore the Avengers never created? What kind of superheroes would exist in the Marvel Universe? Well, we got basically Justice League analog. And what the story is telling you all kinds of different characters to how well-known Marvel superheroes.
No second chances. Resurgence has been done.
Hope you guys enjoyed it.
We've got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated.
In East Los Angeles, Robbie Reyes.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
He's always late for school. Why is he the slowest kid in LA? But while rushing through, a hooded man tries to stop him, telling him, "I'm looking for the Ghost Rider." Robbie keeps pedaling. "I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds like it could kill you if you smoke it." However, as Robbie rides off, the man steps out of the shadows and he explains that we are currently in a world where the Avengers don't exist. And for some reason, he is the only man that knows who they are.
Fuck,
For
I gotta
some
piss
reason,
again.
he is the only man that knows how the world was supposed to be. This man's name is Blade. Meanwhile, over in Washington, D.C., Dr. Doom lands, calling out the rulers of this land to inform them that this is your notice that you are...
Gas is right on your tail.
Barbarian Liberation Army. And by army, I mean Doom. My homeland was taken from me, so now I will take yours, just as I took this crimson gem from its hidden temple, the Temple of Sitorak, God of Rage and Unstoppability, which makes me Dr. Juggernaut. Doom grows to the size of the actual Juggernaut, plowing for the agents that are guarding the White House until he is punched in the head by none other than Hyperion. Doom yells, "You can't stop me! You turned my country against me. Now I will reforge your beloved America into my own."
10 remaining. Keep fighting.
Crimson gem out of Doom's forehead, telling him, "If I turn your country against you, you mean the Squadron made certain that fair elections finally were held in Liberia? Then yes, we most certainly did, Dr. Juggernaut."
Gas is inbound. Marking new safe zone.
No. Your atomic strength will not save you from the wrath of Doom. Not this time. But as Doom grabs a hold of my...
Gas is right on your tail.
Flex his super muscles into to break...
Fire, but don't get comfortable.
Screams in pain, yelling, "There is no truth there! No justice! Everything that you claim to stand is nothing but a lie!" Hyperion radios out to the Squadron Supreme that his old arch-enemy, Dr. Doom, has somehow escaped from the negative zone and is attacking
Only iron
the White
sharpens
House. Nighthawk tells him that it's not.
Gas is closing in.
Capitol Dome isn't usually black.
Gas is moving.
Suddenly,
Good to
several
go.
armed agents jump out pointing guns. Hail the Black Skull! While Nighthawk fights the symbiote-infused Black Skull, Dr. Spectrum rockets up into space to intercept an unidentified object. He's flagged by Air Force pilot Harold Danvers, who in this universe is not Captain Marvel. He's a 5-minute report in subordination.
Okay then.
She's able to pull away and let the heavy hitters handle this one, and she mumbles under her breath.
That's what's up.
But watching this one across the way is Tony Stark. He watches Dr. Spectrum You know why? Because all-powerful superstones are bad for business. Now, guided missiles on the other hand. You see, this world is very different. Tony Stark still makes weapons of war. Captain Marvel is interest. And the spirit of vengeance in Starbrand were deemed too dangerous and banished the nation of Wakanda wasn't appear on any map, and it was dismissed as a myth years ago. The power of the Iron Fist never left the mountains of Tibet, and Tony Stark never took a piece of shrapnel to the heart. However, it is possible that all of these things may not have happened because of one single change. You see, in this world, Captain America isn't alive. Thus, the Avengers never existed. Instead, there is the Squadron Supreme of America. And without the Avengers, that absence rippled out to all corners of the world.
Leave them the fuck alone.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Enough training. Now you fight a real enemy. Keep your senses sharp. An enemy team is tracking your location.
Dango. Hostile operator. I'm in their sights.
One on top of us. One to the left.
Tells himself that he coddled the beast for too long. Deep down there was a part of him that hoped that maybe, just maybe, the Hulk could be a force for good. But that was foolish of him. That's what the Hulk please make Hulk happy. Almost with Hulk happy. But Hulk grabs Hyperion by the neck. Hyperion tells him, I do hereby invoke executive order SSA-1939. May God have mercy on your soul. Using his atomic eye lasers, Hyperion has to kill the Hulk 24 times. He screams hello over and over until he falls in a quivering puddle of radioactive. And with his last breath, everything flies, falling out.
Enemy soldiers nearby!
The Hulk, Steve Rogers, the man who was mysteriously lost to the world on very much the reference from
I'm in the sight.
But even still, Hyperion, he looks for the body of Steve Rogers every inch of the sea floor with his own eye, but he could not find any trace of Captain America, of Steve Rogers. Deep inside of an ice fissure, there is someone else was there. Now they may not always see eye to eye.
Bad guy, front.
The world's greatest attempt to make sense of all this.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Period is the superstar. Now and all. This world is the truth of
enemy UAV active.
And even if it is somehow a lie, he will fight like hell to keep this thing exactly the way that it should be. Some black and nothing space drapes over reality's edge, folding calls, and only the stars see through hints of distant. To break the his heart underbothered by time. Atop the hull of the Magister's Mercy, a micrometeor tousles his hair and
gamma rays ricochet harmlessly across his skin. The last eternal
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
no sword to show it. You see, there is one.
Flashbang going out.
As Hyperion jumped back into the ship,
Claymore planted.
Hyperion laughs. What did I do to deserve such good friends like you?
I'm hit!
Should be proud of the honor and glory that he has done. And I'm grateful. But I promise not to bring down the moon.
Hit for
of our
target
last
location.
day together. Clearing the mission. He says, technically, their mission functions. It would be a shame if another impact to Earth was
Enemy soldier nearby. Enemy UAV active.
However, Hyperion. So we wouldn't be violating orders. It would be an easier time sorting through depth Earth leftovers than the generally neutral. So what to say, you Hyperion? Would you step into the unknown? One last time? Of course, the question. Hyperion would have said yes either way. It wouldn't be a good idea to disobey orders on his very last day. As the Magisters
Mark the waypoint coordinates.
Hyperion gets in position using his atomic mission to fail into the infinite. This bubble dimension depth for among the tropical
Enemy dropping into the AO.
I'm in their sight.
Her ill-gotten gain, thinking alone the splendor of her fortress home. And now that the Imperial Guard has managed to defeat her, is not everything that this by right? As the bullshit.
Training fire.
Check out the lagoons, and Flashfire tells them that he'll be right there. He just had a bunker somewhere. However, once they
Ooh, good shit.
right together, the team splits up. Hyperion and Oracle investigate on their own, but once alone, he asks her if she's decided. He tells them tomorrow they will return to the direct service of Magistrate. He will return to Earth. Hyperion will be away from his crewmen, away from her. The stars would spin them further apart, but they never meet again. She has made her decision. That is a page that she cannot. Let Gladiator depart. Let her parents threaten. If Holstein let even Magistrate defend his religion. When he is returned, he will not do it alone. His is a soul.
Incoming power zone.
As they embrace peace, Gladiator calls for the
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Because we're about to unlock Deathbird's terminal. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Flashfire pops out of the water stating that his neck is really starting to kill him.
Power zone's active.
They'll make him feel good. Flashfire says that he is so not in the mood. He should be happy that the show-off is leaving, but seeing him in civil, Neutron gets closer, stating that they are boring, yet the gravitational pull between them, it's undeniable. Flashfire says, okay, that was cute. As the two of them kiss, Flashfire begins to feel a little weak. Neutron says, hey, are you feeling alright? Don't get me wrong, that was great, but not worth passing out over. Flashfire tells him that it's just kind of burning, since that sting like his muscles are on fire. Flashfire hops out
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Just in case anyone else is getting sick like him. Neutron says, of course, and as he leaves, Flashfire begins to laugh. Then we can all be together. just one last time. And feel better. Ember begins to look around, and Oracle asks, why does it look like no one's Gladiator says probably because they spent the last several cycles chasing her across the galaxy, but Manta's onto something. The lab was sealed off, protected. Some kind of quarantine program.
Outside
At the string lights up, Manta sees an image stating that there they are. Now, what secrets
On the
have
move.
you? Oh.
Heard and understood.
Everyone looks up and Hyperion asks, Brood? What is that? Oracle tells them that they are the greatest
Small
threat to
caliber
sentient
round
life
here.
in the entire galaxy. Manta will follow them, stating that they are a parasitic kind. They thought they would be hunting in the converting all life to servant hosts or egg-laying spawn. Gladiator tries to reach out to him, but nothing comes back, and he's limited by over. Wait, Manta says that if that is the case, they have only one course of action. Past a certain stage, a matter of minutes in some cases, the infection is permanent. Hyperion is ready to leave, asking, why is everyone waiting then? And Gladiator stops him. Careless we must be cautious. We cannot allow this to escape this place, no matter what. Oracle then says that she can get a reading if they just get outside to see what everyone's thoughts are. Everyone hurries outside of the fortress, and when Oracle goes to scan, she feels something scream. And she begins to yell, spread and spawn and hunt! Spread and spawn! They are Brood! Everyone has to spawn! She points forward, flashfire and neutron to the others slowly creep out of the trees and get ready to attack. Hyperion and Gladiator get to work keeping the Brood back, but suddenly Hyperion feels a prick on the back of his neck. Gladiator didn't work. He felt the parasite, but his body just destroyed it instantaneously. Manta says it's possible that the concentration of atomic energy in his body doesn't allow for a Brood egg to take hold. As Flashfire attacks, Gladiator stops him, and Manta asks him if he understands. She whispers something after, and then says that there's no other way. Gladiator nods, stating that if that is the case, so
Allied UAV overhead. Hunt them
Manta
down.
then flies up, starting the Brood, telling the others to run. Damn you! Run while there's still a chance! Gladiator takes off, stating that if he gets to the Magistrate's jersey, he can pilot it back out and spread it across the stars and end life as they know it. But even Deathbird, mad as she was to try and capture these creatures, was wary of their attack.
I'm hit!
Along the surface of the negative zone. Any force strong enough to beat it asks, so you want me to use my atomic vision to pop the bubble? Gladiator tells him that that is exactly what he wants them to do. The opposite effect got them in. Their friends are lost now. The Brood must not be allowed to enter their extinct. Hyperion hands Oracle to Gladiator, stating to be sure and follow once the pathway is open before it collapses.
Bad guy, front!
Sybil is everything to me. Please be careful. Hyperion flies over to the tear and gets ready to make a sudden stop. He looks back to see Gladiator struggling with Oracle, and he tells her, I am sorry, but she is sorry.
Good shit, good shit.
The lives of your comrades have any meaning. You must close this now, Hyperion. Hyperion screams as he unleashes the full power of his atomic vision, destroying the tear and everything along with it. For a moment, he feels that he wants to just listen to it. Time stands still. He imagines
Right.
and then time bursts down like a river. Here, all is lost. The soft black of space.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
Save the stone beneath his feet. Every atom.
Enemy patrol.
Some fun.
I'm in the sight!
That escaped. However, that is not what happened. See what Peter would grow up to never gain this spider power. The Uncle Ben would never be out and ultimately lead to death. And Peter would finish up high school like a normal teenager, and later go to the Empire University and focus all of his attention on the electronics. One day, Hall stayed in the actually going to be sick. Ben was going to take her to the new production of In the Heights, so she needed to stop by Gamble's and get a new express. She thought that maybe her and Peter could get money. They would go to a place.
Enemy patrol.
Shopping, they meet up at a coffee place on campus. For the past the time, Peter takes his bird out for the field. Suddenly, one of them spins out of control. One of the drills crashes into
Enemy patrol.
Enemy
Enemy dropping into the AO. Enemy UAV active.
She sees an A in this
Allied UAV overhead. Hunt them
There's
down.
actually something he saw in a dream once. Live. Pleased to be knocked out by his dream. At that moment, the hero wow! Hyperion? He says that he's off to save someone who's out. Caroline then asks if he thinks that his drones are fast.
Claymore planted.
It's the range that he's warning about, so she laughs. As he will. Hyperion catches up to the villain. Telling her that he's not sure. Hyperion is fighting some supervillain, and it looks like Hyperion is getting mad. He's using his atomic vision to cut down. He's throwing away gambles. Hyperion, don't! As the sign crashes into the department store building, Peter begins to rush over calling for Aunt May, but at the same time, Uncle Ben calls. Peter doesn't answer the phone. And as Uncle Ben goes to voicemail, he tells Peter to not forget that they need him to puppy watch tonight. Once Aunt May gets back from the store, they're going to be heading out. He tried calling her too, but she didn't answer. Anyway, call you back when I can. Love you. However, May wouldn't be coming home. She passed away. A casualty from when Hyperion destroyed the department store. Afterwards, Robbie from the Daily Bugle asks for with a 4.0 grade point average in his office looking for a job as a photographer. You see, time has passed, and so has May. So Peter needed to move on with his life. He's back at the Daily Bugle, just like he's destined to always be. Peter looks away, stating that there was a death in the family a couple months ago. His uncle went to pieces. He needs help taking care of him, just like they took care of him. Before he dropped out of EU, he developed a drone camera system that might be great for the people's digital strategy. Give the residents and the tourists a look at New York from a different vantage point, a virtual one. Robbie says that is a bit too squishy for him, but if he can get footage like this when the hero's working in the city, footage that no one else has, then yeah, he's got himself a shot. Peter asks, you want me to document Hyperion's every move? Sure, what's the pay? J. Jonah Jameson swings open the door, telling him, it pays nothing. You're lucky that Robbie's such a damn softy. So later, Peter stops by the rebuilt department store, and Ben says that he thought he'd find him here. Peter asks why he isn't at the cemetery, and Ben says that he didn't need to talk to May. He needed to talk to him. Come with me, son. As the two sit in the park, Ben goes on. May wouldn't want to see you like this, isolated and distant. You're just walking around aimlessly, and it's scary. Peter asks, is it because I'm not home every weekend for a sad dinner in which we don't talk about anything, and I feel worse?
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon.
Ben takes a deep breath. We can fight, but I didn't at least it'd be something. Peter then asks, what does he want then? I want you to be the man that you raised, a man who engages with the world even when it beats him down. A man with a purpose in his eyes, not with anger. Peter grabs a newspaper, pointing to a picture of Hyperion, stating, this right here is my purpose, Uncle Ben.
Enemy patrol.
Enemy soldier nearby.
Power they have.
Move the spot.
Ben helps Peter. They don't have to have great power to do great things, but first, you do have to want to. So the next day, Peter gets ready to try and take pictures, but suddenly he is surrounded by a swarm of interference. Peter says that Hyperion is secure. Oh great, googly moogly! Hey good buddy, you got your ears on out there? Oh Tom, come on, hey!
Hostiles dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
In the whole wide...
Enough training. Now you fight a real enemy.
On the rooftop, Peter telling him that he's got this. Feel free to document these events. After using his freeze breath, Hyperion kneels down, standing at the bottom of the the general alien sequence should escape the events. They can even see American propaganda.
Battle Royale. Set a drop point for your team, soldier. Be advised.
There's our
gas
LZ.
is closing
Jump
in.
it.
Proceed to the safe zone.
I say we drop there. Negative. Cancel that.
Location marked.
Kill all targets. Go! Positive ID on the bounty target. Let's make this quick. You're being tracked by an enemy team. Tread carefully.
Epa, homeboy.
Gas is moving.
Here it comes, bro. Right behind you.
Your teammate has entered the gulag. Surviving earns them redeployment. Your teammate was sent to the gulag. They'll fight for a chance to redeploy.
Why are you by yourself if you being hunted anyway?
So keep up with notifications showing up at once while posting about 500 selfies a day. Yeah, Blur doesn't get to relax that often, mostly because work tends to keep him on the run. Like that time that he was trapped in the secret Siberian lake of the Soviet Union. It has artificially evolved the
Your teammate has failed. They're sent back to base.
would have to outrun the fiercest jaws on wood. That isn't what we were talking about before. Has this adventure even happened yet? Anyway, it all started in Washington, D.C. when Silver Witch was chasing him with her high-speed hexes, telling him that she was going to finally have
Your teammate lost the fight. Now they return to base. Time's up. Objective failed. You can breathe. You lost the enemy trackers.
He ripped his soul right out of him. Without it, he flew away and died, just like the imitator Pietro. What's worse, the Silver Witch has brought them to the dread dimension. Imagine if everything that was mind-grippingly awful happened. This is that place. All the Witch has to do is keep his astral self away long enough so that the physical will wither and die. So in other words, the race is on. Oh, do we forget to mention that there are mindless ones here? Yeah, that's a thing as well. So it begins a race through the dread dimension to save his soul. By the hyper-fast host of Hoggoth, here we go. The Silver Witch is fast, but Blur? This isn't exactly his first super race through the impossible. He once raced from one end of the multiverse to the other, against death in her ring-powered Infinity Chopper. He even raced through time itself to stop Doom 2099 in his super spiky time slide, fighting with the American history. Thinking about that gives him an idea. He can run faster than light and vibrate out of sync with himself, out of sync with time, and go streaking through his own timeline. The only problem is that the next thing he knows is that he's re-racing some of his greatest showdowns, like against this guy, Johnny Blaze, the speedster of vengeance, the Ghost Runner. Spoilers, he ran so fast that Johnny's bones melted. So after taking a power nap for a few years in the 33rd century, it's time to... Wait, what was he doing? Oh right, Silver Witch and his soul are being taken and blah 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 blah. Let's catch you up again. All he has to do is tear through time so that he can skip ahead to the part where he wins and take his soul back. Except when he comes back, the Silver Witch zaps powers. The next thing that he knows is like he's stuck in melted adamantium. He can barely move and, oh god, is this what it's like to be normal? This may be the mile that finally kills him. But wait, think back. All those years ago...
Holding for deployment. Take this time to ready up.
Into that. He was going crazy with the super speed powers on the mystical art showed him the way. All he had to do was look at a flower, sit and look. It slowed him, grounded him, and all he had to do was breathe. Some races you can't win by running. Took him a long time to learn that. 17 days to be exact, which for a super the fastest mortal alive. He has the attention span of a hummingbird. To see the life racing past him just beyond the doors of perception. To see everything that you miss going by. And by the groovy moves of Monopore,
training's over. Time to see what you've learned.
She is stopped by a giant mystical whale that crashes in front of her. She looks up asking, what in the world is
Set a drop point.
Here's our drop zone.
Soldier.
See you ground side.
The gas is closing on your position. Suggest you start running.
One day, Bullseye wanted to see if he could kill him. However, Bullseye was stopped by his the fire from the
Vibrant contract mark.
And there's only one flame that can burn it so hot. The fire of the phoenix, harnessed by Warden of Maya Lopez, once known as that. And that's exactly what the world is. An echo of the way it's meant to be. It's behind the awakening where she gains the constant powers of the phoenix when whatever the hell happened. She woke up and realized the reality that she was wrong and somehow re-aged during the night. She still doesn't understand everything the Phoenix Force can do or what she can do. All she knows is that the Phoenix is a gluttonous beast that's the the way a bonfire hungers for a barrel of gasoline. If the whole world
kill all targets.
Because she couldn't
go.
Control the staying power, she could leave the asylum anytime that
hostile
she
dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
But she didn't. Because that is what the Phoenix would do. Sometimes just being an echo of what comes before you isn't enough. Sometimes you need to be different. Just then Maya notices something and calls out to the person in the shadows. They may have thought that they could sneak up on her, but they should have gone to a shape that doesn't smell like blood. Blade peers out from around the corner, stating, I like this one already. Right behind him walks Ice Rogers, telling Maya, I won't lie, her power is frightening. Even in the hands of someone who has wielded it for years. And according to Blade, the last time that we saw you, you had just gotten a hold of it. Literally destroy the world. Blade tells him, yeah, turns out that that's exactly what we're going to do. Burn this whole reality to the ground. Captain says, hopefully, we can bring back Emma looks out as the wall crumbles, revealing Magneto and his mutant force. Come with us. I'll explain them away. Emma shakes her head, explaining that there is no need. That she saw everything in their minds when they stepped into the cell. She saw the battle with
You've got gas moving in.
Mutant force led a group. She saw Magneto crippled by the woman. She saw Rogue attack the Skrull named Skymax. Held him for too long and absorbed all of his powers and memories in revenge of him killing Mystique. She knows that Magneto is trying to take Charles' place, gathering mutants into a safe haven known as Island End.
Spare ammo if you need it. Everyone's in the safe zone.
His head bowed as he heard a voice in his mind, and he felt hope once again. Charles. And Emma stands from her bed. This jailbreak has assuredly alerted the squadron to your existence. We're in danger? She asks Magneto. But number 1 and number 2...
Taking fire!
This
I'm hit!
The giant and his comrades step back through the hole that they blew. Goes in the room and
clean shot.
Their shared mind, once destroyed. As the mutant force steps outside, they're greeted by the Phantom team, armed with weapons that can't be manipulated by Magneto and psychic blocks that can't be affected by Emma. No problem, Frost. Some of us fight with our hands. Frenzy shouts as she leaps at the soldiers. The mutants launch their attacks at the guards, trying to fight them off, but finally Magneto controls the metal of
Located
his
armor.
and sends the shards stabbing through the
Located
fingers.
armor.
As Emma helps Eric off the floor, she points out that the squadron will be here shortly. So let's get to work. Eric tells me. A short while later, the mutant forces return to Island M in the Bermuda Triangle. Emma looks over at the island before stepping back into Eric's study. She looks at the gathered mutants, telling them they will have to go deep into Eric's mind to find Charles. If we find Charles, we will be at the whim of one of the world's most powerful telepaths, defending himself like a wounded tiger. She explains as they all take a seat. We all know the risks. Sovereign, keep watch until we return. Eric tells them. The mutants all leave their back as Emma begins to work, and in a blink of an eye, the study has disappeared and the mutant force stands amongst the ruins of a civilization. Emma, I've never seen this place. What's it doing in my mind? Eric asks as he looks around at the destruction, and she looks around explaining that they are in the outer boundaries of Xavier's mind. Clearly, he's been redecorating, she whispers. Eric is shocked, wondering how they couldn't have noticed Xavier was there, buried in his mind after his death. Rogue looks around, finally beginning to recognize him. This is Power of Purpose's home, Utopia Island. Suddenly, from the rubble, skeletons begin to arise to combat the mutants. The professor nuked her people inside Mag's head. She by realized flashing out of his mind. The mutant force looking to fight against the Utopia.
Bad guy, front.
But she is stabbed from behind. It opens up her. Rogue, what's going on in there? Sabra asks, and quickly Rogue explains what happened and how she woke up. When suddenly the proximity alarms begin to blare throughout the mansion. It's a good thing you did.
You win this fight and you return to the front line, but if you lose, you're done. Prove you can still fight, soldier.
On the iron sharpens iron.
He asks what happened to Rogue as they continue to fight. Suddenly the ground quakes and cracks beneath their feet, and the team begins to fall.
Show no weakness. Stand by for redeployment.
Those that will become the mutant force, and they
A Nebula 5 bomb has been deployed.
The first students standing before them. Charles and his child soldiers at the sides, and Jubilee moves past them to the door of the intervention. Outside, the mutants are doing their best to overpower Princess Theory. Reaching out her hand, Jubilee...
Nebula 5 bomb detonation imminent.
Move on my way.
Showering Jubilee with flames, sending the team flying.
Loadout drop headed your way.
Diving to protect Eric and Emma, but when they look up, both their fellow mutants have disappeared as they gasp.
Objective is to eliminate the bounty target.
And destruction reaching their ears. Inside the mansion,
Nebula 5 bomb was detonated in the distance.
In his hand,
Gas is inbound, marking new safe zone.
Charles, it's him. After all these years, Eric whispers, and Emma looks up at the body, which is still cut in two. Indeed, and his state raises an intriguing question. What half of him have you come for? She asks. Eric looks at her, ordering her to step aside with his friend when he failed him before, but Emma's words give him pause. This monument to his killers is his final defense, and sure, quite dangerous. Charles came to you to heal, and once freed, he'll need someone he trusts, and I've been known in rare moments to be prickly. She tells him as she sends a psychic blast to cut through the image of Hyperion. The blast kills her, and Emma snaps open her eyes in the study,
indicating vein point
in the real world as she hears the sounds of destruction and walks out onto the balcony. Oh, you started without me, she whispers as she looks down at the mutant fighting.
Receiving hostile fire.
Gas is inbound.
My former host, she whispers before leaping down, and in his mind, Eric moves through the room. Look what's become of you, old friend. He whispers as he finds Charles' body. Eric. Charles gasps. And
trying to flank them
Emma
motherfuckers.
leaps into battle, cracking Power Princess across the face. Sorry to keep you waiting, Princess. Your queen has arrived. She snarls, and above them, a rogue has shifted into a scroll to fight against Hyperion. In his mind, Eric leaps over Charles, apologizing for not being able to save him before. He explains that he has done everything that he could, but his anger has not been enough. We need your heart, he tells his friend, but Charles looks at Eric, explaining that compassion wasn't what kept him alive all these years. Your anger did that. I survived as a broken idea in your brain. Only the master of magnetism can knit me back together. Charles gasps, and Eric holds out his hands, beginning to fix his friend. Then why have you called me here? It can't be the
Nebula 5 bomb zone has faded. Area is clear.
A look appearing in his eyes. It's not that simple, Magneto, but it will be painful. He smiles, smirking. Outside, the mutants continue their battle against the squadron, but Hyperion bellows in rage, tossing them all aside. This doesn't have to happen. You could have taken what you were given, he tells the mutants who fall around him. As the rocks hit him in the side of the face, he turns to see all of the
There they go.
Down the hip,
They're throwing rocks. They are doing all that they can. They are standing against
Target down.
You fight against the mutant force. You fight a whole species. Inside of his mind, Eric is feeling Charles draining the energy out of him. You're not Charles. He gasps.
Enemy UAV active.
Again, just wearing him like a suit. He explains that he felt Charles' death, that as a sword cleaved through him, she set her mind over into Eric.
Time's up. Objective failed.
I did. Yet I spent years recovering from the trauma. Then I called and you came. Your friends tried to warn you, but I knew you'd be so desperate for Charles Xavier to be alive. You pressed on, brave and stupid. This was never a rescue mission. You fell into a trap, Magneto. Outside in the real world, Hyperion slams his fist into the ground, sending the mutants flying. The mutant force get back to their feet, jumping at him to bring him down again, and Power Princess turns, grabbing Emma by the throat. Jubilee appears, shooting sparks into Power Princess's face. Hyperion throws the mutants aside, hitting them with a nuclear vision blast. Finish this, Sarda! Spectrum's on his way to clean up the scene. He orders them, but suddenly they begin to disappear, their bodies disintegrating into atoms. They both scream, and they're suddenly gone. The mutant force looks around, shocked at what happened. Well, somebody's been hiding some talent.
Destination mark.
She dusts herself off, and Rogue shakes her head. No one here could have done that. They all just burned away, she says. But suddenly there's an explosion and a bright flash from Eric's home. This isn't over. Frenzy gasps, and a familiar figure appears before them, and Jubilee's eyes widen in shock. Professor, did you just blow up the Squadron Supreme? Those ants have been deposited among the outer planets. It'll be weeks before they can return. Weeks I do not intend to waste, the woman tells her. Jubilee's eyes widen. You're not the professor, she whispers, and the smoke clears as the woman explains. She is mutant time, new alpha. Tearing you free of the dark with the power of a star gone Nova. Cassandra Nova tells him as she floats.
Gas is moving in. New safe zone highlighted.
They gather on the blue area of the moon. The Earth floating far away. Our peoples have been at war since the sky was first blistered by the stars. Since long before the Earth was a home to anything that lumbered upright. But on this, even the Skrull and the Kree can agree. For the greater good of the galaxy, we hereby endorse this murder. The delegates from the Kree and Skrull empires nod.
They are not the only species gathered today, though. Members of all different races in the galaxy have gathered to hire the bounty hunter. If you people
Hey, somebody else here.
Rocket will bring
Receiving hostile.
his
Need some
living
first
weapon
aid.
tasks in rocket nods.
Wow.
Once his man done that,
You thought I was on his team and you thought he was on your team.
Utah turns his place in the shadows.
Or shit switched up.
I assure you they are. I was a silent witness to his atrocities for far too long. Until I could stand
Good game.
no more, I sought to intercede. The Watcher says as he turns into the light, revealing his eyes that now see nothing. Dr. Spectrum must die. Else Retheta screams in pain as Dr. Spectrum blasts the infinity rings from his hand. The Spectrum Celestial, the Spectrum killed to prove a point. The prism powers him, and he blasts away from the prism. He stops, and a voice shouts out to him. Hey, cowboy! Where do you keep the blockheads around here? Ah, never mind. Found one! Rocket shouts as his space bike opens fire. The rockets slam into the Spectrum, throwing him away, light leaping out of the prism, destroying the other rockets.
Bounty contract marked.
Yes, Rocket Raccoon. Supposed to be the deadliest of bounty. I gotta say, seeing you, I'm finding that hard to believe. Spectrum snaps. Rocket screws his bike to a stop, pulling out his electric weapon. Oh, you'll believe it, buddy. Right before I turn your big stupid head into space rip. Thanks to my big, awesome gun. I am Groot. Groot says as he opens his mouth, firing projectiles at Spectrum. As the wood rounds fly through the air, they open their mouths, screaming, I am Groot! Spectrum tries to shield himself, wrapping a wall of light around him, but the Groot rounds get through, begin to grab him and root through his body. Spectrum screams out in pain, but the prism doesn't hear him. It begins to float away as the Groot rounds tear at Spectrum's body. Groot's wrapping around him as Rocket pulls his bike up to the prism. What's that prism thing anyway? Wonder if crazy old Quill on the junk moon would give us anything for it. And Spectrum rips his arm free of Groot, reaching out for the prism, but Rocket pulls out a new gun, firing the Chara-Lite maggots at Spectrum. The maggots begin to burrow into Spectrum's body and the soldier gasps. Prism! Why have you forsaken me? When suddenly Rocket reaches out to grab the prism, launching through the air, slamming it into Spectrum's body, and sending out a shockwave of energy that blasts Groot and the maggots off of him. Rocket, destroying the Groot gun.
Damn, that gun too big.
Spectrum shots angrily.
Played up.
Oh,
well, good game.
We'll come back stronger next time.
Rocket shouts from behind an asteroid. He gets on the radio to his ship and begins to whisper. Rocket to mothership. I got no more guns. Fire all antimatter mines and mega bombs at my position and get the flock out of here at double speed.
The man Max B. What's up, boy? We on the Ave. We in the hood. All day, every day. All day, every day. 3 7 bananas. He got the hair.
What's up with the YouTube? So we back with an update on OMVPs and before we get to the video. Hey, but y'all hit that like button, because every time when y'all hit that like button on my video, you get recommended more and more. And I really appreciate that, because I'm keep having that game growing. Make sure y'all sub to my channel and turn on post notifications if you're new. Anyways, y'all, I ain't gonna waste no time. I'm gonna get straight into the video. So basically, man, I don't know what's going on, but people, you know what I'm saying, they got locked up for their honeycomb braids, the grandparents situation, man. You know what I'm saying, they snitching on BPs, and now he posted this on his page. You know what I'm saying, the statement said, Nettles testified that co-defendant Terrence Sanchez Watkins felt disrespected by a Facebook post made by a different Mobile-born rapper on Peasy, whose real name is Paris Day. The beef was with the rapper on Peasy. The officer testified. Nettles testified that Watkins and his co-defendants were unable to get to Dave or Brazy, who have the same record label You know what I'm saying? The next thing you know, the dude who snitched said they plotted to execute the grandparents or whoever was in the house at the time. He said, you know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, Pizza reacted. He said, I wasn't even gonna post this stuff, but this stuff ain't cool at all. Them dudes don't want to be the balls, so they trying to throw my name or something.
Use this time to train a bit. We'll be deploying soon.
Especially the police. Now, I ain't gonna count, man. This man's stuff, man, you know what I'm saying? But it be like that, you know what I'm saying? You know, they from Mobile and, you know,
enemy soldier nearby.
This, and, you know, it's just a whole lot of mess. And, you know, they ain't no who else getting money, man. You know what I'm saying? For real, bro. Like, that's sad for the people who did that. You know what I'm saying? They just gotta suffer the consequences, you know what I'm saying? They don't need to be trying to throw OMPs and nothing. Or nothing like that, man, because that man, you know what I'm saying, he in the
hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Yeah, y'all, man, I just can't.
I really think that's him talking to somebody else.
Enough training. Now you fight a real enemy.
Oh no, that ain't me talking to nobody. That's some. That's the TV.
My butt shot the knot so well, boy.
Either drop a knot or
Battle Royale.
Oh yeah.
Mark a drop point for your team. You'll lead them in. Gas is approaching your position.
Tag it easy. Let's jump.
Remember he had to go.
Go to the airfield. Work our way into the storm.
This time.
Definitely they get this loaded. At a fast. I'm on that right there. Let's get that back.
Contact.
yeah, I'm going that way.
They land on the boundary.
Got contact.
In front of me.
I think I might be the first one to that down. Hello?
Y'all go to the bounty. I'm gonna go to the tents. Clear out these tents.
Primary objective is to eliminate all enemies. Attack!
Oh, no.
Positive ID on the bounty target. Let's make this quick.
Yeah, I let with it.
Where y'all live?
I'm in the tents.
Ah, shit. Well, it's hot right here. On the other side of that pin. Oh, he's right here.
Gas is inbound.
Catch it. Oh shit, I did not want to. Yeah, he shooting at me like fuck.
Allied cluster strike arriving.
Oh, he just doubled back on me right here on me.
God. Always another person like
Your teammate was sent to the gulag. They'll fight for a chance to redeploy. Bounty target is down. Mark.
Oh shit.
Teammate has been cleared for redeployment. Your teammate was sent to the gulag. They'll fight for a chance to redeploy. Your teammate is in the gulag now. If they survive, they'll rejoin you.
Say what?
Supply contract.
You in the air?
Please give me a good weapon.
I'm in the tents.
Man, this nigga here. What was your antennas?
Oh, you got
ass shot up.
Hey, T,
I can't understand what the fuck you saying, bro.
Hey, you got the money, bro. You got the buy station, bro.
Shit. They on my ass. They on my ass. They on my ass. They got me. Come pick this money up. Oh shit. You see where I got murked at? Go pick that money up.
Please, good gun. Oh, damn, pistol.
There was 3 of them.
Welcome to the gulag. If you survive, you earn your freedom. You can taunt your enemy with words. Or rocks. I prefer rocks.
No, no. Let's go.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, my God.
Alright, let's see what that boy Loke do.
Let the mayhem begin. Eyes up, soldier. Your turn. Win here and you return to the battlefield. Lose and your fight is over. It's time, soldier. Got your ass kicked.
They got me.
Return to base.
I made all ankle shots.
Your team can pay for your release if they can afford it.
This storm on my ass. And they just got lonely on me.
As long as it takes.
Oh, shit. Hey, manipulation. Bingo.
No cap, but they just got loaded out on me.
He in that building, Glue. He in that building, Glue.
Here we go.
Oh shit, I wasn't paying attention.
Storm.
Dr. Stevens.
They finna run my ass over.
Took his time to like full on kill me. Oh my God. Yeah, you're dead now.
Loadout drop headed your way.
Gotta complete the mission.
What I tell you? Hey, Green, what you got going?
Today I was born with always hard times, welfare, not no school, no money, crime and
Hop in the whoop and get up out of here.
murders.
We often hear about
Tagging buy
rappers with
station.
insane criminal past. Some of
If I can find a little cash, I can get one of them.
Just meet me at
We don't typically hear about the men who have killed rappers. Sadly, in
I'm
the
on
past
one right
few
now.
years,
Shit. Oh man.
Let's get to the safe zone.
Venture. Juntin
have eyes on aid station.
Rolls-Royce Phantom.
You sure you want me to drive?
You cannot go wrong with Rolls-Royce Phantom if you want the world's finest and most luxurious car. The Phantom is instantly recognizable due to its signature Rolls-Royce design language and the spirit of ecstasy mounted on the front seat.
We got people right behind.
The luxurious theme continues both inside and outside of the car. It portrays the essence of classic luxury, which sets it apart from other vehicles of its class. The car as unique as the Phantom obviously offers plenty of premium options, such as a Starlight headliner, completely bespoke interior, electrically operated doors, and 130 kilograms worth of soundproofing material installed throughout the whole vehicle, which makes the cabin as serene as it gets. The 6.75-liter V12 engine puts out 570 horsepower in quite a subtle manner, which is good enough to overtake anyone, but also comfortable so that you don't get a sudden jerk. All in all, the Phantom is the most luxurious a sedan can ever get. Mercedes Maybach S-Class. If the level of sophistication in a normal S-Class is not up to your expectations, then no need to worry, as its Maybach edition aims to resolve all your woes. Everything, starting from the front grille to the rear bumper, has been reworked to provide it with an utterly luxurious makeover. The Maybach version boasts a visibly upgraded wheelbase that's even 18 centimeters longer than the standard long wheelbase version of the S-Class. Maybach offers the car in a dual-tone paint scheme. The job takes more than a week to complete. The interior is fitted with the finest quality nappy leather, refrigerator, a total of 4 screens, and massaging seats.
Who's shooting?
Such a heavily fitted car needs all the power it can get. Therefore, you can also get it with a twin-turbocharged V12 engine that puts out over 620 horsepower. Lastly, the Maybach S-Class is also fitted with next-generation autonomous driving aids that enable it to drive and park autonomously under certain conditions.
Indicating waypoint.
Bentley Flying Spur. The Bentley Flying Spur is the true pinnacle of British luxury on wheels. The top-end saloon is capable of pushing you back in the seat with its unbelievably fast acceleration.
Enemy soldier nearby.
All the acceleration is made possible.
Gas is moving in. New safe zone highlighted.
12 mil that delivers 635 horsepower and 900 pound.
Fire sale is active. Fire station costs are adjusted.
Clock 0 to 60 in just 3.7 seconds and achieve a top speed of 207 miles per hour. Despite its 5.8 meter length and 2.4-ton weight, the Flying Spur is surprisingly good around the corners thanks to the adaptive suspension and sporty dynamics.
Oh,
the Flying Spur isn't all about speed and agility. It also allows you
move a spot.
The all-around leather interior, with a spacious leg and headroom and air suspension, brings out its supremely comfortable character.
One's down. Nice.
Overall, the new Flying Spur remains true to its vision of delivering a luxurious experience, combined with all the thrills.
You've got gas moving in.
Mark the aid station.
Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Just like any other Rolls-Royce car, the Cullinan also sets the bar for other high-end SUVs in all aspects, whether it be comfort, serenity, or ambience. Both the interior and the exterior follow the modern design of Rolls-Royce, but it's the sheer grandeur of the Cullinan that sets it apart from its siblings and its rivals. The use of high-quality materials and
fire sale done. Prices are back to normal.
Exterior further add to the luxury of the Cullinan and allow it to carve out a unique space for itself in a world full of SUVs.
Although the Cullinan is fitted with an endless list of features, some noteworthy features include tagging fire station, custom dashboard inlays, and a set of 2 retractable picnic seats in the trunk that may not be as comfy as the seats.
Come to gas, come to gas.
Touch of sophistication.
I knew it.
Available in 2 trim levels, the Cullinan has a base price of almost $350,000 that can be stretched endlessly by opting for a wide variety of custom modifications offered by Rolls-Royce. Mercedes Maybach GLS. The Maybach GLS is a beefed-up version of the Mercedes GLS, which is itself a very luxurious full-size SUV. The Maybach GLS is, in fact, the luxury division's first-ever SUV, and the Maybach was its first attempt. The heavy use of chrome
I'm in the sight.
Some to our left. It's some to our left. Oh shit, they got me. Blue, you close by? Green, you close by? Nope. We all hit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I said. They got me.
I was doing good too.
You should try the rear seats, which also feature power adjustable recliner seats. A subtle fragrance diffuser engages your sense of smell, while dual 12.3-inch infotainment displays powered by Mercedes-Benz's latest MBUX software interface provide a crystal clear visual experience backed up by a world-class Burmester audio system with an incredible 27 speakers.
Found a bounty contract.
Bentley Mulsanne. The 2020 Bentley Mulsanne remains true to its heritage and is designed for those who want a modern Bentley that also has a touch of its previous generations. The roof of the car has been made using the traditional coach building technique, and the rest of the exterior is also identifiable due to its stark resemblance with the brand's traditional design language. The interior, on the other hand, is also as high-end as it gets, and you'll also find an analog clock and instrument cluster that are again a reminder of the past. Powering this 2.6-ton massive creature is a 6.75-liter V8 engine that produces in excess of 505 horsepower and 100 pound-feet of torque, depending on the variant. The good thing about that is that it provides all of its punch in the low range, which means you don't need to rev it up to 7,000 RPM. Sadly, Bentley will soon end the production of this stunning creature indefinitely. Range Rover SV Autobiography Dynamic. The 2021 Range Rover SV Autobiography proves once and for all that it can also be a top contender when it comes to luxury. This new model effortlessly blends peerless craftsmanship with the most innovative technology, producing a vehicle that makes every journey a study in luxurious travel. It features an adaptive air suspension, top-of-the-line safety systems, as well as nifty little touches that combine to make your stay in the SV Autobiography as effortless as possible.
Get him. Good game, good game. Set you up for failure.
I gotta step it up, man. Hey, look, can we start marking where we shooting it?
And the 10.2-inch touchscreen infotainment system,
Say what?
complete with DAB tuner, Bluetooth, USB connectivity, and a TV tuner, preserve the classic feel of the interior while providing the very best of cutting-edge technology. BMW 7 Series. BMWs have always been known as performance machines. However, the new 7 Series also adds in all the luxury one does not expect from a BMW. Both the exterior and interior styling have been revised, and the famous kidney grille is now long